Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GT4 launch night here, hosted by SimGrid and Coach Dave Academy. For once, I am joined by another voice. It is Connall. Courtney. Connall, how are you doing, bud?
I'm excited for a GT4 race. Of course, it's going to be a mixed grid. I see already, judging by the practice standings, quite a mixed grid. No one truly getting a lot of practice in. I think maybe less than 3-4 hours. So if they were obsessed with the new DLC, so yeah, we're going to see mixed grid and hopefully some tight racing.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a lot of different logos there on the timesheets. I mean, we've got a Mercedes-Benz on the front at the moment, followed by a BMW, a Porsche, and if you don't know that symbol below that, that is the Ginetta, then the Alpine and McLaren shortly after that. So quite a few cars are being redone. Whoa, we've got a bit of laggy issues going on screen at the moment. I'm starting to get my eyes adjusted. Maybe it was just because I only just woke up. Who knows? But we're on board now with fifth place, Gregor Schill. We know Gregor from the Coach Dave Academy launch night. But Courtney, Connall, you've seen the circuit yourself up close and personal. You went to go watch a MotoGP adventure. What do you think of Asseto's take on it?
Pretty accurate. We were able to, lucky enough, the few days before the event, we were able to do a track walk here. One thing I will say is that it's very hot. When the track gets hot, it is very greasy. I've seen from the race reports of all the MotoGP riders a lot of rear grip issues, so we'll see how that plays into these races tonight if the track temperature picks up.
Yeah, look, a car we haven't seen a lot is the KTM Crossbro. Naomi Schiff, a former South African karter I did a lot of work with, actually one of the drivers in the KTM Crossbro in the GT4 Championship for real. But we saw him all over the curves trying to hold on to the back of the KTM there. So maybe the temperature's a bit higher today at the moment, 20 degrees at the moment. So maybe with that heat, you could be correct that we're going to see a lot of slipping and sliding from all the drivers. But nice to see the grid nice and close together, even though a lot of people haven't had a lot of time and haven't been able to pick their favorite cars. I've always said these cars are very different. The game does a good job in making sure of that. And each car suits a different driver differently. So it's nice to see a mix and to see people trying to figure out what works for them.
To note that there is 30 minutes of racing action, so everyone will be on sprint mode. There will be no worries about pit stops, fuel usage. It'll just be fill the tank, stick a fresh set of tires on, and go for it.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see people going full at it, hammer and tongs, and trying to, actually have a race from lap one. We're so used to seeing the endurance aspect of racing. As we on board, or as we have a look now at an Alpine, the first time I'm seeing it in the game, and it is quite a good-looking vehicle. Unfortunately, our server has gone down, and it will be restarted. Michael, just a quick question to you. I know you're muted and you can't talk back to us. Is there any way we can just have a look at some of the graining on the screen that we're seeing?
Sorry, what would you like to look at?
We've just got a little bit of graining on the screen when in game, so it's difficult for us to read names in that.
Okay, I'll put us on that be right back screen while we get these servers restarted and see if we can get that sorted out.
All right, guys, so we'll be right back shortly. We're just getting the servers restarted and just dealing with a couple of technical things, and we will be back before qualifying to give you all of the qualifying action. Right, guys, and we are back. So we just had to sort out a couple of technical issues from our side, as well as a server crash, as we look at, for one of the first times, a Janetta. This one in a bit of a taxi livery, looking quite sexy out there on track here at Mimosa. Sorry, it's an Alpine. I've been corrected, an Alpine. We're going to a Janetta now, just to prove to me from the production team that I know what they look like now. So. Thank you, sirs. Thank you, production team, for teaching me that. Now I know this is a Janetta, and the taxi-looking car was the Alpine. So, Connall, I'm sure you've got that all worked out already.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we cut to what I think is probably the best-looking car in the grid from what I've seen so far. The KTM. It looks like a race car. It's got that aero, it's got that stealth look to it, and it's got my old race number. So, I'm a commentator. I'm not biased, but. Number 16 on a KTM does look good if you ask me.
So slowly, just backing the true racing number 16 there, Gregor Schill, quietly backing it. We've got a couple of these kicking around South Africa. They're racing our endurance series, but we don't have the cockpitted crossbow. It's the open wheel that the guys use here in South Africa. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because it's warmer here where we are that they can get away with it. But to the McLaren we go now of Samuel Whitby. We watched Whitby in our previous GT event on ACC, running the GT3 cars. Running right up there in the front and doing very, very well before making a rather costly mistake. Sorry, it was in the Porsche Cup race that we watched recently from Revival Racing. Samuel Whitby doing very well there. So far in the McLaren, he hasn't set the lap time, but doing very well there in his Porsche. Another Coach Dave Academy driver, James Parker. James, one of the drivers responsible for a lot of the setups that we get from the Coach Dave Academy. So expect him to be very, very quick up there in third place. Fortunately, we're unable to see the times at the moment, but I'm sure those get fed to us from Michael. Michael will be assisted from the pit lane. And unfortunately, no, Michael, we don't. It's a bit grainy, so we can't actually read the actual numbers. So if you could just feed us a couple of lap times here and there, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Hold on a 142.6, I think that is.
Yeah, it's a 142.6, and the top 11 now are covered by less than a second. We have people just starting to set lap times now. We should see quicker times in qualifying as the guys get more adjusted to these cars.
Yeah, look, I think it's going to take some time for them to get into this. I mean, with the server crash and that, we were expecting them to have limited free practice time, but now they've restarted free practice. They're getting the full free practice time in, so able to get in and get set up, change that mean looking BMW there. Absolutely love the look of that car. If there's any sedan I could buy that, it would be that BMW.
It looks like something you don't want to see in your rearview mirror as you're being hunted down. We're looking at Ibrahimi now. He is 2/10 off the pole man as of so far. 5 minutes to go in this free practice session. We have a Porsche leading a BMW, and then just like Noah's Ark, we've another Porsche and a BMW.
Yeah, 2x2s up there in the front. I mean, we're used to seeing that on a Sunday with Mercedes and Red Bull, but now we're getting to see it in the GT4 spec. Interesting. One thing I'd love to know, and my memory escapes me now. I think if I'm not mistaken, GT3s do 136s around here. So the GT4 is not too far off the pace of the GT3s, but more along the lines of a touring car spec than that of a GT spec car.
It's short straights probably helping this car, and the GT4 class. The GT3s won't be able to get the full use of those legs that they have. We're just looking at Ibrahimi still. He's just popped up to second place, 42.570. As we switch to one of the Alpine cars, we get a look at it. That is the Altea race car. Beautiful white and pink number. It has 4 seconds off the pace, but free practice. When it comes to free practice, we're just getting dialed in before qualifying.
There's something we haven't seen yet. The American Muscle, the Chevrolet, the Camaro, out there on the circuit behind the Janetta. The beautiful blue livery on that car, and that also just another muscle car. It almost takes the place of the BM in my heart, but I'm still a BM fan, so I'm still going to pick that BMW GT4 over that any day. But not a bad looking car either. It does look a bit out of place though with the Porsches and the Janettas and the Alpines. it doesn't look as sleek as the rest of them. It's very boxy and big, and looks like it can't manage to do the lap times that they do, but definitely holding its own in this class, in the GT4 class. But I see he's 1 of 1, I think, or 1 of 2 maybe.
Yeah, I'm just looking down the order. I see 14th place, Laurent has the Chevy out. So yeah, 2 from what I can see, flying the flag for the Americans here.
Yeah, it's not something you'd expect to run around the track very quickly. The one thing we haven't seen is that's the Aston Martin. We see a lot of that in the GT3, but we don't see a lot of them here in GT4 as well. So it looks like people are starting to get favorites already. I mean, this DLC pack has only just come out, but it looks like there are a few favorites already, but maybe guys just used to the brand or have driven these cars in other simulators and use that to assume their pick. But quite a few Mercs, quite a few BMs, and quite a few Porsches, so the Germans doing very, very well here. The one thing we don't see and we don't expect to see is that of the Maserati. It is the only GT4 that doesn't have traction control or ABS. So only those that are brave would probably pick a car like that. And I think for a launch night here with SimGrid and Coach Dave Academy, it would be the best pick, especially for the first time out. But hopefully we'll see that car a bit more in the future.
I think anybody who would be competing in the Maserati would be praying for no rain, especially with the no TC or ABS.
Yeah, it'll be a difficult thing to drive with none of that on it. But a lot of these cars just look a little bit. They actually look a lot tamer. Look a lot tamer than their GT3 compatriots. Maybe it's the smaller wings, and they actually just look like smaller vehicles. I mean, I know they're not, but it's just I think the way their aero is done in that it doesn't look as large of a vehicle as a GT3 car.
The leading Janetta, Josh Martin for the Coach Dave Academy, flying the flag for the Janetta class. Of course, if you're in the UK and you follow any form of motorsport here, you'll be familiar with the GT4 Janetta class. Very competitive class from what I have seen. I've seen plenty of races there at Downton. I've actually been to a couple of races at Downton Park in the Janetta GT4 class, and a lot of bashing, a lot of bumping, and it's more. It reminds me more of a touring car race when I watch these guys. So maybe that will translate to Misano today.
Yeah, Janetta GT4 being probably one of the feeder series for a lot of young aspiring racing drivers. Most of the guys moving up from karting. I know a couple of Dan Holland boys have moved up there from karting, and a few other well-known British karters have decided to take the step into Janetta as opposed to going to British Formula 4. They've gone more the tin top, running a little bit wide there, taking a lot of curve. That's going to probably be an invalidated lap. But a lot of the guys going to the Janetta for the tin top experience as opposed to going single seater. So picking the GT route early. But looking at how GT racing has grown over the world, I don't think it's a bad idea. As we're on board with Martin Loring, and his team name I absolutely love, Connection Lost Racing. He's in 6th place at the moment, only 0.5 of a second off Jay Parker with a 142.4. Jay Parker also one of the drivers from the Coach Dave Academy, and someone that will be involved in the setups for all these cars that will be available on Coach Dave Academy website soon. I'm sure a lot of these guys are working hard to get that out and get it ready for the public to purchase.
Seems as though pole man so far and 2nd place, so everybody apart from Nowakowski in the 3rd place is happy with their times. A 10th off from 1st to 2nd, and 2/10 covering the top 4, so we are in for a tight race today.
Yeah, I think your guess of it being more of a touring car race is definitely going to come to fruition here. With only 14 drivers separated by a second, it's going to be an absolute stonker of a race.
Seems as though to any pass I've seen in races that I've done in SEC myself at Misano have been either a late lunge or a heart and mouth moment when you're passing, as we just come up to the end of free practice and we are waiting. The countdown is on and we are getting ready, all set for qualifying.
It's going to be an interesting qualifying. It's going to be interesting to see how close these times actually get now in quali. A lot of these guys set bankers during free practice. They don't put all of it out there and see how quick they can go. But I think James Parker pretty much on the limit there, and his Porsche 718 came in a GT4 Club Sports with a 142.4. But interestingly is that Muscat, down in 16th place, has the 2nd fastest second split, and the fastest second split, and the fastest 3rd split is held by the man 1 place above him. So if those guys can put a lap together, they're going to move themselves well up the order.
Yeah, we're seeing, especially with new cars, it's not just a new manufacturer you're driving; it's a new class entirely. For those who maybe have been sim racing only in a Assetto Corsa Competizione, driving a new class, it'll take way more than 10-15 minutes to get dialed in to this class.
Interesting to see James Parker there pull over and wait rather than go straight out on the track. Chris Hooker going to be the first one out there. Little Pro. Oh, I'm not even going to attempt that. My German's not good enough to attempt that. But in the taxi-looking Alpine car there, Hooker going out first. It's always a tricky situation to find yourself clear air in any qualifying. But Chris getting it right, getting out there first. So he's got plenty of clear air now to set a good lap time, and I think he will be our benchmark for what times will come about. But as I look there, a couple of names that I've seen from a few of the races we've watched. I see Andy Boardman here. Andy Boardman, very, very quick in everything we've looked at. Whitby as well. Alaric Enslin is one of South Africa's top sim racers at the moment, winning most of the main South African sim racing competitions. He just won the Solidarity E-Race recently and a few other top sim races. He just finished competing in the JP Hydraulics Polo Cup League, which is very close to what a GT4 car might feel like, in my opinion. So maybe a little bit more experience there for him, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up on the grid. But Burrow is also a name that we know from other events, and Ham as well. Ham is also one of the top boys in the Porsche Super Cup that we watched recently. So a lot of names that we know out there that have been involved in the sim grid. But on board now, Jordan Burrows in the Mercedes-Benz.
It'd be interesting to see Chris Hope if he gets caught up with maybe people coming out of the pit lane late as he starts his first flying lap. It's always a case, always a worry. You know, it generally is a good tactic coming out first, unless you're being targeted by the other teams. I've seen in numerous classes before the pole man, or at least the guy who looks like he has the pace, leaving pit lane. And coincidentally enough, another 10-15 cars just so happen to be leaving pit lane at the same time. It's a funny coincidence, that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we call it chasing the rabbit. That's what we call it. So you send the rabbit out first. I don't know if anybody's watched any greyhound racing. The rabbit shoots off first, and the greyhounds all go out after it. So a lot of the drivers will be looking to have someone in front of them. It's always good to have someone engaged from. But you're right, going out in front on your own is always a risk. You can risk catching the slow traffic. But you can also risk being out there on your own with nothing to gauge to. It's difficult, especially in a new car and a new class, to consistently gauge your braking points and get the circuit dialed in. So it's always good to have someone in front of you as a gauge. It does help you. So there's Victoria Thompson. Is that one of our only female racers in this class? I'm sure Michael will give more information on that. So there we go. See one of our other lady races. We should have assumed that from the pink, but I didn't want to be sexist.
Driving the number one car, maybe making a statement here. Driving this number one car, just being chased now by an Audi. I don't know what exact number that is, but I tell you, Vicky. Oh, it's the two ladies together. 13th so far, but nobody is yet to set a lap. So as Vicky looks up the inside, try and get her to hairpin, that might compromise the lap just a little bit, especially the run out. As the first lap is in, first couple of laps is in, and we've got it already down to the 42s, which is what was being done in free practice. So we're going to see potentially 41s here, but with this new class, it's going to be very, very difficult to predict any qualifying times.
Yeah, Schill just inside the top 10 in the free practice. So maybe just getting in his qualifying setup dialed in. Or James Parker's going to be interesting to see what time he does on his first flyer. It is, of course, 1:42.4. That is what he did in free practice. So banging it up there on pole. Nice one, James. Showing us how it's done there, buddy. First flyer. I was about to say your first flyer is not always your best. And boom, there he goes and puts it on pole. So James Parker proving me wrong. On board now with Alaric Enslin, also from the Coach Dave Academy in the BMW. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets done in car number 100 there. Has he set a lap time yet? No, he hasn't. So still to set a lap time there, down in 16th place. Alaric Enslin, he's had a lot of traffic on this lap.
It really is a statement going out on the first flying lap of your qualifying, even though there's only 15 minutes and it's almost a necessity to go out and just straight away go as fast as the top times were in free practices. Just sends a message to the other guys that I am here and I am ready to fight for this pole position.
Yeah, this is why people purchase my setups, because I can get them done that quickly, and I can also drive them. So just really putting together a good advert there for Coach Dave Academy, old Parker. But definitely something to really everybody else to scratch their heads about as we watch Alec Engine come across the line now to set his first flying lap, and he does the same thing, putting it on pole. And I can't really see. I think it's 142.2 or 142.3. So putting it in by a 10. So 142.249, my racing number. So, representing there from South African Alaric, putting it there on pole, just to let everybody know that he's still here and he's still got it. So, Coach Dave Academy first and second.
We also have a new feature, as you can see now on the screen. We have a track map. This is a feature not just for the stream, but also for SEC. You yourself can see it, I believe, if you're in the garages. It's especially vital here in this qualifying session. You can see, as you can see there, as we go onto the back straight, that lovely empty space that you can dip out to and have some clear tarmac, hopefully, for your qualifying lap.
Well, I think our commentary team, Michael Hammett, was the only one to know about it, because it doesn't look like the drivers are using it, looking at the amount of traffic on the circuit at the moment. It's basically that section that we're looking at now, just as they go down the back straight. It looks like the peak hour traffic jam there.
If you look at if you ignore the top of the screen, you'd swear this was a track map of a race. This is crazy. The only car in the pits is the number 1 car at the minute, as we see Chris Hoke now about to complete yet another lap. But again, as we look at the timing screens, the top 10 covered by less than a second.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be something of a touring car race. 2 teammates on the front row, though. I don't know if we can call them teammates. They're both from the Coach Dave Academy, so I would assume that they... And Gregor Schill as well. So actually, sorry, I just got the information now. So Gregor is also a Coach Dave... he's down to 4th now. Oh, and Enzo is off pole. So Ibrahimi has gone, how's it, mate? I'm going to come back and take pole. So the BMW is looking very strong around here at the moment. And Andy Boardman, I spoke about him earlier, a driver we've seen drive Aston.
The guys, I think, are trying to show us up, Kyle, because as soon as I mentioned how the top 10 are within a second, we see now Zarnecki is down to 11th, with Porker now, Boardman 3rd place in the Greased Weasel race in the number 69 car. He is driving the Aston Martin, British driver on a British car. It suits well. We've got Parker, Ibrahimi, Boardman are your top 3, and they're covered by 0.2 of a second. 42.2 is the current pole time now. Parker's in the pits, and again there's movement. We have Laurent now in 5th position, so we've 4 manufacturers in the top 5. The only manufacturer to be in the top 5 twice is the BMW. But as you can see from the car choices, very much more of a varied split than we've seen in previous GT3 races. It'll be interesting to see in Hungaroring, which is the next race coming up straight after Misano, how the guys change, if they do decide to change. But I think the smart money, unless they're really hating their car, would be to stick with the car that you at least have some race experience on and getting back into it for a second race.
Yeah, you'll probably see the guys lower down out of the top 10 might change for manufacturers if they see more of inside the top 10. But I think very much the guys inside the top 10 will stick with what they've got. I mean, to finish inside the top 10 in a split one of a sim good event is quite an achievement on its own. But Zarnecki, also someone that's very quick in the Porsche Cup Series. So it's strange to see him 0.9 of a second off the pace. But Parker drops down to 4th place, bangs in the lap and puts it up to pole. So there is still time to be found in these cars with only 5 minutes left to go, and a lot of people still out on track. So Enzo had put it in the pits. He saw he dropped out to 3rd and has decided to put his head down and try and find 0.042 to move himself back up.
Zarnecki had a great battle in the Porsche Cup at Bathurst, fighting, well, originally I believe it was for P5, correct me if I'm wrong, Cal, but it ended up with a few mistakes from P2 and P3, the original P2 and P3, it ended up a fantastic battle for the podium.
Yeah, it was actually. It was a really great battle, and Zarnecki was doing very well out there in the top 5. Another person we saw make a lot of moves throughout the Porsche Cup race was Nottenburg. He drove himself up from outside the top 15 to into the top 10. I think he actually finished 7th or 6th overall, so it was a great race from him as well. So I'm hoping to see something a little bit more from him than 3.3 seconds off the pace from Nut Racing NL. I'm assuming NL, the Netherlands, with the surname of Nottingham, not NL for New Zealand. But that BMW looking rather mean in the red GT Go Fast stripes on the matte black. But again, the track just looks so congested at the moment.
Yeah, we only have 3 drivers from what I can see in the top 20 who are currently in the pits. So everyone, I think, trying to get as much track time as possible. I think the only changes they'll be making in the pits was just refilling the fuel for however many laps they needed.
It's very interesting to see a mix-up throughout the field. I mean, we're seeing a lot of names further down that we thought would be a lot higher up. Muscat, one of them as well. So I think this new class and new cars and new manufacturers is really making a change-up from the OG way we normally see these grids and these slots. It would be interesting to see. It would have been interesting to see the guys, the 2 dominant drivers from the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Mini Cup that we had recently. I'd like to see them in this car, but they haven't joined us. On board with Luca Tavanari he's actually decided to vacate this lap. His best time 1:42.7, not far off. But Josh Martin, someone that assists us quite often with our stream, he's actually not assisting us tonight because he's racing. Man can't multitask. I'm disappointed by that. But Josh Martin, Coach Dev Academy, in 13th place at the moment, 1.2 seconds off pace in the Ginetta. Hopefully to move himself further up the field. Unfortunately not, he stays down in 13th place.
It's interesting to see. I mean, we have 5 splits for those unaware. We have 5 splits.
Whoa, sorry. I need to interrupt that. 141.9. So we're into the 41s. Jay Parker has smashed to the 42s, put himself on the 41.9, and now has basically a 0.3 second breathing gap from his teammate Alaric Enzo. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No problem, especially for a 141 lap. And we see that when there's a second covering what was 12 cars, to have a 0.2 of a second lead, that is significant. Even though it doesn't sound like much, that is a significant gap with the times running so close.
Yeah, it is a very, very short lap. So. Oh, unfortunately, I just get the information now. Samir Ibrahimi, who is down in 3rd place at the moment, did do a 42 dead. That would have moved up to 2nd, but it was unfortunately an invalidated lap as he flashes the driver in front of him to let him know that he is coming past. He is on a fast lap, but unfortunately, does move out the way from there. A little bit late, but maybe still able to keep up on a green sector to move himself back into that 2nd place with hopefully a 42 dead again. But this game does invalidate your lap if you cross the white line with more than, I think, 50% of your car or all 4 wheels, I'm unsure. So we're just being told now that it is quite easy to invalidate here at Misano. So maybe just running wide after this segment here, you'll see there is quite a quick right-hander into a hairpin. It's quite easy just to run slightly wide and end up, there we go, that's what I was talking about there, and invalidate your lap. On board now with Vicky Thompson, who is currently in 11th place, the first of our female drivers in the Audi. Doing a good job there in car 394.
Yeah, and Vicky only 9/10 off, and realistically, when it comes to race prem, nobody knows how far off their qualifying times they will be. So we'll get maybe some of the front guys who could be a second off, and some of the guys setting their qualifying times could also be having an eye to the race, trying a couple of things in terms of race setup, because we're on board with the poleman right now. He's 2/10 up. We see the Union Jack in the number 44. You'd swear it was Lewis Hamilton out in track right now, but it's not. It's Parker.
Yeah, Parker putting some hammer time there himself. 2/10 up on this lap. 0.24 as we look at it at the moment. So maybe going to go more than 0.2 of a second quicker than his compatriot Alaric. Carl, he's from your country, probably says name. Alaric Ensland. Gap's currently 0.3. It could be pushed up to 0.4. This is that sector I was telling you about. It's quite easy to run wide at. So you've got to be hard at the brakes, get off and accelerate again. That's the curve I was talking about. But getting away from it there is Parker, and still staying point. I've never seen a lap this consistent. I can't do this. To sit here at 0.24 the entire. Oh, he breaks a little bit early through there, drops down to 0.21, but still 0.2 of a second up. Very, very consistent and neat driving from Parky. He's going to cross the line, 0.26 of a second. Am I right? 141.613, 0.26 of a second up. And yes, sir, pull over, have a cup of tea. You've got it done.
The more things change, the more this is the same. A Porsche on pole. That is not really a surprise. We've got the number 16 car, Gregor Schill. He is in 8th place. He is still on a flying lap. We've got only one of the top 3 still on a flying lap. But I don't think, looking at the times and the gaps, I do not think we're going to see anyone contest Parker's pole position lap of a 41.6.
Yeah, that is very. So one thing that has been brought to our attention by Michael from the pit lane there is that there is quite a big difference on these cars in terms of how they react to race conditions and how their pace either increases or drops off over a long distance. So we can expect a big change up in the times throughout the race. So generally those that are quick in qualifying don't tend to switch on, they switch on very early in the race and drop off quite late. But let's go to our times at the end of qualifying, and our current grid slot is as such. James Parker on pole, all 3 sectors in the purple, quickest in all 3 sectors, 141.6, almost half a second quicker than second place driver Alaric Enslin. It's Nowakowski Ibrahimi in 3rd, and that guy in 4th. Nabokowski, and Laurent in 5th. Andy Boardman in 6th. That rounds out our top 6. So with 1 minute and 42 seconds left to go, are you going to be a brave man and give us some what your thoughts are going to be on who we can expect to see a winner here?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to be a brave man because I'm going to pick the pole man for the victory. I just think that gap in qualifying. But again, we do not know how these cars will go over the race distance. We do not know how these drivers will go over the race distance, what their feelings will be. But I'm going to stick with what I said earlier on in the broadcast, and my pick for the podium will be the KTM in 8th, Schill, the number 16. He is my guy to watch out for.
What I'm seeing, though, is on the grid, it says, on our sheet, it says Alaric Enslin in 2nd. On the grid, there's no Alaric Enslin in 2nd place. So, unfortunately, Alaric Enslin disconnected. So that puts Ibrahimi in 2nd, who's supposed to be in a BMW, but I see a Porsche in 2nd. So this is quite odd. Okay, so I'm not seeing. Oh, Ibrahimi in 3rd. Okay, right. So okay, so 2nd place man is not on the grid. That's why I'm getting confused. Look, we said we're going to take picks. I'm going to go with. I was going to go with Enslin, but I'm going to go with James Parker on this one to be consistent and fast. Pull a big enough lead for when that Porsche drops out. But with only 8 seconds left to go, we are doing a full warm-up lap. I'm assuming, not a standing start. I'm going to go James Parker on this one, and I reckon you'll get away in the beginning by a big enough margin that should this Porsche drop off later on the race, it won't be in any danger.
I think that will be a tactic of James. I think that's what he'll be looking to do, opening that gap early on and hope that the guys behind start getting in the battle, because it was fairly close between, I think, 2nd and 12th. The whole way down, there was very short gaps between each individual driver. As we look at the number 44 car, just trying to get those brakes up to temperature. He's anticipating the dive bomb early on.
Yeah, look, I think he needs to be off that line quick. Can't be caught napping at the lights. I think, whoa, big oversteer over there from the BM behind him of Ibrahimi. But if we go back to Turing, whoa, he's actually lost it on the warm-up lap. Exit stage right there, unfortunately. So warming up the rear tires a little bit too much there, Ibrahimi, and looking for the exit stage right. Calm it down, son. Still got a whole lap.
He might have rosy cheeks after that with embarrassment, but I tell you what, he's not the first to do it, and he's not the last to do it on a warm-up lap.
Yeah. I've done it more than once. I won't lie. I think my first Formula V race, I did the same thing. I stuck it almost in the wall on the warm-up lap. I was lucky enough to get back in it. But second of our lady races, Altia there in the Alpine, the wonderful white, black and pink liveried car there. Definitely standing out for us to see it down in 30th place. Unfortunately at the back of the grid, because the two cars behind her are starting in pit lane for not clicking drive.
And also an important thing to note is that there's no tire warmers for this class, so everyone will be, I think that's maybe why Ibrahimi was so aggressive in his warm-up trying to get those tires up the temperature, but he may be clearing a bit of gravel off those tires right now as we speak. Maybe hopefully no cracked windscreens behind him with the gravel being kicked up.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, I haven't seen these guys warm up as vigorously as this. I was unaware that there were no tire warmers. So it really is a cost-saving class, this. No tire warmers allowed, so they've got to do all your own tire warming. You've got to put in the elbow grease and turn the steering wheel. But James Parker hopefully getting enough heat in those tires and those brakes as they line up side by side for the start of this 30-minute race. This is the GT4 launch night with SimGrid and the Coach Dave Academy. First GT4 race that I will be witnessing, and I'm looking forward to see what comes of it with the grid so close together. Almost at the start-finish line now. They'll be going through the final corner and holding it at 78 or 80 k's an hour. Whoa, car disconnected in the background. But ready to get on the gas and get going as we wait for lights to go out. Will James be able to get the whole shot into turn one and do what we hope he will do of building that gap just in case that Porsche does drop off at the end. They are away racing. It is a green light, but that BMW was quick off the line. He definitely has inside into turn one. And from my position here, he looks to be going around the outside and maybe move down because the next corner is a right-hander. He runs slightly wide and has to relinquish that position to James Parker. Going further back now, we're having a look at Ibrahimi down the inside again. 3 abreast. 3 into 1 doesn't go, boys. I did maths at school and I'm almost sure that doesn't work out.
Yeah, the leader's been spun. Oh my goodness, he's been able to rejoin. He's down to about 8th or 9th position, but for the guy that we had predicted would be able to pull away if he had a clean start. The start wasn't great. He got caught up in a 3-wide battle, and now he has a mountain of work to do.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like your number 16 car is up there in 3rd place. Down to 4th now, it's Schill. Great start for him, moving his way up into 3rd place, and now putting pressure. Ooh, big pressure being put on him as they go into the brakes there. It looks like he's going to try to go around the outside. Like you said, we anticipated a turn. Oh! Driving all over the place.
Big incident. James Parker was lucky not to get involved in that. It was lucky he actually ran a bit wide there. We've just looked, according to the time screen, Schill has actually a drive-through penalty. I assume that was for speeding in the start. So, Gregor, I apologise. I've given you the commentator's curse.
Looking at Ibrahimi down now in 3rd place. Andy Boardman up into 2nd. But I'd love to know who that driver was that tried a bit of Bottas lawn mowing. He needs to go and see the COC get his $50 back for cutting the grass for us. But unfortunately, cutting the grass and taking out like 4 or 5 drivers there into that hairpin. Not the tightest of driving and definitely not taking easy on lap 1. So what you said, we're going to see contact again. Driver sideways. Is he going to collect it? No, he collects the driver on the outside and another spinner in the middle on. And again, contact all the way through the field at the moment. So definitely BTCC here with a different host of cars.
People really, really unsteady. Maybe it is the no tire warmer effect. People are just trying to drive it like a GT3 on the first lap. Really need to take it a lot more careful on these laps with the cooler tire temperatures as we are on board with Chris Hope. We are looking at the Yeah, interesting. No, thank you, Michael, for that. The cars have different braking performances, much more significant differences than in the GT3 class. We're being told that the Audi's ABS is quite poor, so we're going to see late lunges from people who maybe don't know this information yet and get it a little squirrely. And as we have seen on the first lap, people have been in the gravels facing the wrong way, in the grass, and just about everywhere but the tyre walls yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of drivers, but a lot of drivers have benefited quite nicely from it. Victoria Thompson now up into 7th place there in her Audi. So, the ABS isn't bothering her just yet. She's moved herself up into 7th place and is the lead Audi. Having a look down the inside of that Porsche there of Tavanari, there we go. Of Luca Tavanari, he just got past her now. So she's having a go at trying to get that position back. And you can see that Audi late on the brakes there, just gaining, but behind her, the Ginetta just looks a little bit better on those brakes.
Tavanari, the leading Italian from what I can see at his home track of Misano, as we look for a pass. 2 Ginettas up, one up the inside of the other. That is Parker making his way back. Nice clean move. He's in the Porsche, excuse me. He is, well, I mean, after you get caught up in an incident like that, especially when you have the pace, it's very, very easy to try and rush your way through the field in such a short race too, 30 minutes. But it is just really vitally important for Parker now to be calm and confident.
Look at this move from P1. We're looking at P1 down to like P8 or P10. What an exciting... Boardman goes around the outside here. Is he going to make it stick? He's early on the power. Doesn't get the drive though. Trying to make it stick on the outside. The next corner is a right-hander if I'm not mistaken. So he's staying on the inside. They're going to go 3 abreast into the same corner we saw the lead get lost. But it is Andy Boardman that gets it in and gets it stopped on the apex. So he stops the cutback. And the big winner there looks like it's going to be Ibrahimi. No, he's pulled back behind the Chevrolet of Loring. So Andy Boardman from Greased Weasel Racing, greasing that weasel through the inside there, up into first place. And but he's not over yet. Down the inside looks for the Porsche. The Porsche is looking down the inside through these long sweeps. 2 sweeps and then a hard on the brakes for a right-hander. So there is a possibility to get past soon. He's not going to do it here. Looking to get the drive now into the final corner and try and make a move stick. But looking back from Loring, we have a look at Ibrahimi. We know he's fast. He was our second quickest qualifier. He made contact with our leader, Parker, and dropped him well down the order. But if you look in the background there, at the end of the back of this train is Parker, moving his way up from 7th place past Tavernetti into 6th. Round the outside, he's going to have a good look now. The next corner is a right-hander, so if he can keep it tight, he's going to get that move done and dusted. And there's our former pole position sitter, Parker, moving himself up into 6th place.
Yeah, that was another lovely clean move at the same corner. He really has that T1, T2 section nailed. He looks as though he's been able to settle down so far after those incidents, which didn't appear to look like they were his fault. He looked like he just got caught up in a sandwich. He is regrouped, he's on his way to 6th place, and he is not too far away from the leading pack.
Before we dropped off that leading pack dice, now we're having a look back now at Ham making his way past car 79 there. Sorry, that is Ham getting passed by almost everybody there at that sector. But it looks like the driver behind old Parker has thrown the proverbial fishing rod onto the back of him and is trying to follow him through as we're on board with another Brit. Jordan Burrows making his way up from 21st to 20th Jordan Burrows going down from P19 to 20th in that AMG Mercedes.
Interesting. It seems as though a lot of drivers have used a lot of curb, and it'll be interesting to see as the race progresses, will we see any drive-throughs for exceeding track limits as now Gregor goes up the inside at a place. I mean, if you want to make a pass there, you have to make sure it is stuck, or else the 2 of you are going into the tire wall. He's got Parker behind him, he's driving defensively. Parker looks as though if he doesn't set up this pass at the last corner, which he doesn't look like he's doing, he will be focusing on his favourite passing point, the T1 and T2 section, as we are on board with Ibrahim.
Yeah, we actually look Parker try to go around the outside of Schill there. Schill's drive-through obviously has been cleared because he's still sitting in that 5th place. But Parker pulls the same move on Schill that he's been pulling every single race, every single lap on every single driver he's passed. Round the outside of turn 1, down the inside into turn 2, and Parker now up into 5th place, chasing down that top 4. And he definitely has the pace. We've seen him use that pace throughout qualifying, and now we're seeing him use it again to reclaim his position at the front there, on board now with Chris Hook. Tavernetti has lost it. It looked like he made contact with another driver, and that's dropped him right down to 14th place. Brazilian there getting past him into 14th, so he's now dropped down to 13th. So Lopez We saw him in the wars on the start. He's up into he's in 18th place at the moment. So Lopez was one of the guys that was in the wars on the first lap, and currently sitting in P18.
We're just starting to see the groups starting to split now, I think, but mainly because of instance. I don't think it's through lap times, but it'll be interesting to see now once the race, it's almost 10 minutes gone, it'll be interesting to see what the race pace is of those front guys.
Yeah, Gregor Schill looked like he had pace in the beginning, but the back of that car looking a little bit unstable now. He moved himself up from, I think it was 7th or 8th place into that 4th place. He's dropped down to 6th now, and that KTM Crossbow looking a little bit wily on the back end throughout the lap, so he doesn't seem to have the pace that he had previously. But interestingly enough, Parker has closed that gap onto 4th place there, and will be looking to get past his compatriot in the Porsche very, very soon, if not this lap, but the next.
It doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it at his favourite T1 and P2. We haven't seen him yet passing at any other spot other than the first 2 corners, but with the pace that James Parker has, you can tell that a move is imminent. Fastest lap so far of a 42.6. That was on the last lap. We've seen 41.6 in qualifying from James, so even in traffic, he is only a second off. But we have Laurent here, actually, who is the fastest so far. He's a best lap time of a 42.2. So we are almost getting down to qualifying times as these guys get more adjusted to this class.
Yeah, Parker obviously didn't have a lot of clean air throughout a lot of his laps. I think that was his first lap with clean air. He's had to move himself through the field, so not really a good gauge of what his pace is. But Laurent in that Chevrolet, that car, he's got him past. So Parker now up into 4th place, has his head down, and he's looking to get onto the back of Ibrahimi. Hopefully we don't see any hot heads when he gets onto the back of him. Ibrahimi obviously making the contact with him that dropped him down from 1st place. So I don't know whether he's driving an angle or if he just has that kind of pace, but he's almost onto the back of Ibrahimi now. But Parker doing a great job down there. So as I was saying, I don't think that's his true pace. It'll be interesting to see once he gets 2 or 3 clear laps what he'll be able to do, because the front 2 are running out there on their own, giving each other toes. The BMW looks down the inside there of that Porsche Motorsports Porsche, but just overcooking it a bit. Oh, he's late on the brakes, late lunge, and that to me needs to go straight to the COC. That was a bit of a late lunge and a bit of a crazy move there from Motley.
Yeah, that was just one of those instances. You're carrying so much speed through those 3 right-handers, and then when you get to the inside, you have to be committed. You have to show him the way. But fair play to Nottenboom. He has give the position back to Szymanecki. That is impressive. That's good sportsmanship on Nottenboom. As you can tell, there was no malice in it. It was just a bad manoeuvre.
Just an error. A bit of the red mist there as we look at another clean move from these 2 Mercs, and 11th place, the move for 10th place being done there. This, if I'm not mistaken, is just a launch night event. There is no championship, so there are no points per positions, but always good to see fighting throughout the field. And those gaps that we were talking about and those groups we were talking about seem to be closing in, because the guys are all settling down into their rhythm and into their pace. So we're seeing a little bit more groups form and a lot more racing throughout the field. This dice is far from over, as we with Mattia, also one of the front runners in the Porsche Cup race recently. So nice to see him up in the front of this Simba GT4 launch event.
It'll be interesting to see, because Parker now has about a 1 second gap to the top 3 in front of him. So he's had clean air in this lap. It'll be interesting to see what exactly he can do pace-wise. The key to James Parker's race so far has been that even after the incident, his passes that he's been making, he has not lost a lot of time in the passes. He's not lost seconds upon seconds making block passes and losing his drive out of corners. They've been clean as a whistle, and he's been carrying his momentum through. So he's made, I don't know, 5 or 6 passes since his accident, and he has only now 1 second to get to the top 3 to make the top 4.
Yeah, I saw the gap at the start of the lap was 1.5. It's now down to 0.9. So he definitely has a pace on 3rd place, man. It'll be interesting to see what times he does now, as we're on board with Josh Martin in a big dice of his own. He's got an Aston Martin and a BMW breathing down his neck in that Ginetta in 14th and 15th place. It's Jose Lopez, who we've seen move up the field from a poor first lap. And Lopez, we know, has got the pace. So a lot of work to do for Josh Martin. but Lopez also got a lot of pressure behind him from the BMW of Bierman.
Lopez and Veerman now just lost a bit of time, but not much. They're still in Martin's slipstream. It's not what you want to see in your rearview mirrors, these two cars. They look menacing as we see. Oh, that looks...
Oh,
Parker's now up to P3, is he? Yes. No, he's not. No, he's not. That looks like a mistake for Nowakowski in the sister Porsche. We're seeing Laurent. We're on board with Laurent. He was the fastest man on track as of a few laps ago. He is one of only 2 Chevrolets in this race, and he is in P2, so doing it for the American brand.
Yeah, it looks like Andy Boardman just getting into his rhythm there, pulling a small gap on Laurent. Unless Laurent made a mistake, because there was quite a gap, but there was half a second between himself and that of Ibrahimi. It's now down to next to nothing. You can throw the proverbial blanket over those two, and soon to join the party will be James Parker, running very, very wide out of that last corner. You can see that there are quite big differences between these cars in certain parts of the circuit. The Chevrolet looking very good in a straight line, but not as great into the fast flowing stuff as the Porsche and the BMW. So you can see where some of these cars are better than others. But the all-rounder, to me, at the moment, does look like the Aston Martin of Anderson.
Yeah, just getting those times. He will be looking in his rearview mirror and he will be praying for mistakes, even enough just to break that slipstream, just to break that toe, just to break them guys in front of us. We see, oh, that was a touring car pass. If you want a definition of a touring car pass, just clip that and rewatch it. That was Veerman again in this mad scrap. They are being joined by, I believe that's Shermanetsky in the Porsche. He is coming up to make it. Is Burrows, sorry, in the Mercedes.
Yeah, so Burrows joining the party there. These guys all tripping over themselves and slowing themselves down. The man that seems to be slowing it down, though, is Josh Martin, because he is very defensive. The BMW trying to go around the outside. That move isn't on. Looking to cut back is the BMW, and that's just slowed everybody down behind him. But BMW, Mike Veerman, going for the outside move here. It's going to be difficult to get done. This is a double apex corner. So, he's for the cutback. What a move that was. That was probably the best, most executed the cutback I have seen in a long time. But Martin is not giving up just yet. Guys, if you want to know how to do a cutback, rewatch it. There it is. Down the inside now comes the... Martin and Martin. The Aston Martin making contact. And I think the big loser there was Lopez.
Big accident there. I think Lopez was sideways. How did he save that? I would love to see that. I hope he's got a perspective on his onboard camera. I would love to see a replay of that. That was, I'm pretty sure, at the last point that we seen him on the camera, he was sideways through there. I don't know how he saved that.
Yeah, his mom must have been on the inside of the circuit there. Thought he'd just give her a quick wave. But the Spanish Ken Block got it all collected and put it all back together and somehow made it back onto the circuit. So absolutely blown away by that car control. But at the front now, we are still on board with Martin Loring trying to chase down Andy Boardman. But Andy Boardman always Mr. Consistent there, out in front, and Loring taking big pressure from Ibrahimi. The pace that Parker had, though, has seemed to have dissipated. He can't seem to get onto the back of this lead group, even though he is in the slipstream at the moment. So he's met his match with pace, and I think that Porsche was better off in the beginning of the race than what it is now, with only 13 minutes left to go.
It looked only a few laps ago as though Parker would just be a matter of time before he'd cut through the field. He had 20 minutes as when he got into fourth place, 20 minutes to go. It looked like he could just use his time wisely and just pick apart the leading three, but it just looks like he's breaking off the leading group so far, as we see more battling into these three right-handers. They are so scary, these corners. I cannot tell you how fast they are. You have to stand side by side or at the side of the track to see just how quick they are in real life. Jack Knoller now in P6 driving the Ginetta number 36 car.
Yeah, so Nowoski, I think that is, you drop down from 4th all the way down to 7th. But Jordan Burrows moving his way past Cheminsky's actually caught onto the back of him. So Ivan looks like has caught onto the back of Burrows, and Burrows has lost a bit of time there on Martin. So Martin with a bit more breathing room now. He was under massive pressure from all three of these cars, and it looks like the BMW has gotten past him. But back to the front now, it's Loring very, very close onto the back of Andy Boardman. So Andy Boardman either making a mistake or this Chevrolet is starting to come into its own. But you can definitely see the top speed difference between these three cars and old Parker behind them, because when they get onto the long straights, they pull a massive gap now. So have a look at what the gap is there, and you'll see, Victoria Thompson dropping down to P9 under big pressure from Muscat. Muscat moving himself up into 10th place. We haven't seen a lot of him, but it's Muscat and Matea having a great race together throughout this race, and they caught up onto the back of Vicky Thompson.
Victoria's best lap was 43, and her last lap was at 45, so definitely a mistake made, and now in the clutches of the guys behind. As we see, that was an essential use of track limits there from the car behind us. Zarnecki in the Porsche, looking in the slipstream of Ham, and it looks as though he's going to have the inside line. If he doesn't outbrake himself, he should have this pass done. Yes, he shows Ham the outside of the track, picks the car up, gets the run out, but contact! And my Ham is into the wall. He's just avoided it. How will he rejoin? Hopefully he rejoins safe, because his car's not too far away behind. He did it okay. Wow, that was tough. He did well actually to avoid that tire wall.
Yeah, a bit of two drivers not quite knowing where each other were on the track and moved towards each other there, and unfortunately I think that was Ham that was got the ham end of that and pushed right off the circuit. Interesting to see though, Alec Ensign started from the pit lane. He was one of our top qualifiers, second on the grid, and he has Josh Martin down in 13th, has a drive-through, and so does Novotsky. So that move that we saw with Novotsky is obviously deemed as a track limitation infringement, and he's been given a drive-through for that. And Josh Martin also the drive-through, but I'm sure Michael will let us know what those drive-throughs were and if we are correct. But at the moment, so James Parker finding a bit of his pace again. I did say that the car was a bit slow in a straight line, but we did see, I think it was Zarnecki in the Porsche, able to drive past the Aston Martin. So definitely not the slowest in the group here in terms of straight line. And he's really caught onto the back of car 49, Ibrahimi in front of him. So James Parker does have the pace, 9 minutes left to go. We could see a four-way battle for the lead very, very soon.
Fantastic racing. We have the top four here separated by a hair. 10 minutes to go. We've done 20 minutes of racing. These guys have never driven these cars up until today. The first time they might just be driving these exact cars, these manufacturers, for the first time today. Fantastic racing.
Yeah, I can't hold a conversation for longer than 2 minutes. So Michael giving us more pit lane information there. He had to run up a flight of stairs to get to us. He wasn't even out of breath. This man is so fit. But giving us information there that Misano is not one of the circuits that they put on the public lobbies. So unless these guys were joining these cars offline, they don't know this circuit at all in these cars, in this format, and for this length of time. James Parker looking racy there on Ibrahimi as they go into this double right section. He definitely has the pace to get past. It's just when he's going to do it. We know his favorite passing point is turn 1 and turn 2. But will he be brave enough to stick it down the inside now? We're going to stay on board with him. He doesn't look close enough from my perspective. He's quickest on circuit at the moment, but he doesn't look close enough to make a pass here from my perspective. That BMW definitely has the legs on the Porsche as they head into this left-hander that just seems to keep tightening onto you, and then into a very tricky double right ending in a hairpin. So let's see how that Porsche corners through here. Hard on the brakes. He catches the BMW by a distance. Hard on the brakes. Easy onto the apex and easy onto the power. So definitely the Porsche, one of the better handling cars out of these three.
Yeah, Ibrahimi, definitely, he is a lot tighter mid-corner than the other three, as much as obvious. Boardman, though, setting the pace still, and everybody behind, I believe, if they could get up to him, just by those extra couple of tenths, they would be making a pass. As we see Ibrahimi almost very, very, very wide there. Ibrahimi is on his limits, visually on his limits, as James Parker is just desperate to try and find a way through.
Well, this is his favorite passing opportunity here. He doesn't seem close enough as they go into the last turn. He's going to have to... Oh, he's so quick. Middle apex there. So quick on the power. He definitely has a run on the BMW, but the BMW's got the legs on him. It's the first time he's had to race the BMW to come through the field. And you can see that he just doesn't have the legs to get past Ibrahimi. So Ibrahimi is definitely holding up Parker at the moment.
Very frustrating. Parker will be thinking of what could have been from pole position, getting caught up in that incident.
He's down the inside now.
Could not do it. Ibrahim just getting told from our trackside reporter, Boardman was half a second quicker last lap, so he is really on his limits trying to open up this gap, but it looks like Larenk is actually following him, so we may see two groups of two foremen here as Parker struggles to find a way through on Ibrahim.
Yeah, Shill is also not too far behind, so if these two start tripping over each other, we will see Shill, your man there, move himself up into the top three, possibly even further up. I've just lost my stream. Just give me 2 seconds there. Back. There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, we've got an inside line here from Parker. He's getting a run. We'll see now the difference in top speeds here. Yeah, we can see that the BMW does have the legs. As he cuts in, he might be going wide here. He is going wide. He's exceeded track limits. I think no issues for any member of Race Direction that would be able to see that. We now have Parker looking up into the tight right-hander. It just tightens the more right-handers you hit around this track, as Parker couldn't do it. He was side by side at the start of the straight, but BMW having the legs over the Porsche so far.
Yeah, the Porsche of Parker going to have to do a lunge, but here he is. Yeah, there's that mid-apex speed I was talking about. If he can just stay in the slipstream that a little bit longer, he might be able to slip it up the inside, but Ibrahimi knows his trick. But there goes Parker around the outside. No, Ibrahimi's let him through. Ibrahimi's let Parker through. That's interesting.
Interesting.
So moved over to let Parker through, maybe knowing that he's got the pace and knowing that he was the man that made contact with Parker early on in the race, and has just let him through to go have a go at Andy Boardman and Larenk with only 5 minutes left to go. I think you've left that a bit late if that is your idea, Ibrahimi. There's not many laps left to go in this race.
Very, very interesting there. It might have been because he exceeded track limits through the three fast right-handers, but being a cynical racer, as we are, Kyle, we don't believe that at all.
Yeah, look, I think that you would have to have done that before the start-finish line in terms of whether or not he would have got a penalty. But I think it might have been from that contact he made with Parker earlier, or the fact that he knows Parker's quicker than him, and he can use Parker to get back onto the back of these two in front of him. But he's left that idea a little bit too late. The gap is quite big, and I see only 3 laps left of running here in this race.
Interesting though, 5 minutes to go now in this race. Boardman doing a 43.3. I think it was one of his first laps, if not his first lap in the 43s, and Larenk is all over him in the Chevrolet. As he looks for the inside, maybe? No, he thinks better of it, but Larenk definitely looks like the stronger guy with 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, Boardman maybe just using up his tyres. Tyres have degraded now, and he's making mistakes throughout the lap. Or that could have just been a once-off where he made an error. It looked almost like that Camaro lifted the inside front wheel as they
appeared to have lost Kyle yet again, just having a few connection issues, but Boardman now under immense pressure. 43.4 last time out. Larenk is really pushing him, and when you have a guy on you when your tyres are worn, you're just on the absolute ragged edge. There does not take much to make a mistake. Boardman has done well so far. Larenk looks like he's going to make it. No, he's just having a look, just setting up a potential last lap move. 3 minutes 40 to go. We'll get 2 laps, maybe 3. We have Boardman, Larenk, Parker, Ibrahimi, your top 4. Unbelievable. Boardman has just picked up a drive-through penalty. We did talk earlier on about exceeding track limits and how wild everyone was in the first few laps. Boardman now has a drive-through penalty that he has to serve. So we are now looking at 4 cars in the lead on the road, but really 3 cars that matter in terms of the race results here, because Larenk is now the leader if we remove Boardman. Unbelievable scenes here.
It'll be interesting to see if
we have 1 second. Larenk has a second lead with possibly 2-3 laps to go, but he's getting held up, you would think, now by Boardman, not being able to use the lines that he wants to use with a car so close in front of him. So he will be begging that Boardman takes his drive through on this lap. Unbelievable. I can't believe that. And Parker, as we talk about Larenk and Boardman, yes, Boardman taking his drive through. That was close, and now that has let Parker get up to the back of Larenk now, and Larenk's being caught. Larenk has officially been caught. This is a group of 3 again. Parker got the run onto the last corner. Will he try his famous T1, T2 move? He's not close enough. Unbelievable. Ibrimi now looks close. Oh, they're all over each other. Parker's looking up the inside, but he can't get it done. This is astonishing racing as we head down to the final 2 minutes of this race. Parker, he's looking up the inside. Is he going to do it? The Porsche is stronger on the brakes. Oh, there's going to be contact. There's definitely contact there. But still fighting. I don't think these guys are actually going to make the end of the race. We can see Shill still winning this race with the way these guys are driving. Now Ibrimi's on Parker, and we know Ibrimi has the legs. He could do the two of them here into the hairpin. Larenk is going defensive, but Ibrimi's still on the inside. He's going to touch his rear wheel. Oh, unbelievable stuff here at Misano World Circuit. 1.5 minutes to go. We're on course for yet another lap of action. Ibrimi's going around the outside of Parker.
Oh, Parker, deep move down the inside. What a move from Parker. What a lunge.
Wow, unbelievable. Ibrimi now has the run, and he could be taking some. I don't know how Larenk is still leading. This is unbelievable racing. Ibrimi in the last of the three right-handers. Unbelievable. He's up the inside. Larenk's trying to go around the outside. He's still fighting it. He might cut back down. Parker's looking up the inside of Larenk. Parker could be taking Larenk, and he wants that position badly. Unbelievable.
He's gonna go around it. No. He's gonna go around the outside. He's gonna get it done. Parker's gonna get it done. He's got the run down the straight. He's gonna stick it down the inside here, but contact. He's gonna stick it down the inside. Oh, Parker just unable to do it. Crossing the line in second place. What a race that is at the moment. 34 seconds still to go. These guys are going flat at it. Final lap for all three of these drivers. We've seen a driver go from first to third, a driver from first to third to second, and a driver from third to first in one corner, all in the space of a lap. But now with only a lap left to go, it's Parker down the inside of Ibrahimi. He's decided not to go through there. He's going to wait for the drive down the straight. He knows he's got Larenk right behind him. So any move needs to be clever. He doesn't want to do the same thing as Larenk and move his way down to third. Larenk lands down the inside. There was no space, so Larenk makes the space. And that has given Ibrahimi a massive gap with only half a lap left to go, and Larenk's still down the inside of Parker.
2 laps ago, it looked like Ibrimi was out of it. He was P4. He was 2 seconds off the leader. He's now leading by almost a second as Parker and Larenk battle here. It looks as though Ibrimi, barring a mistake, he should have it covered. Larenk now is trying some last gasp while he's also trying to defend from Parker, but by defending from Parker, he could be getting the lead if Ibrimi makes a mistake. Gregor Schill wasn't too far away in the end. He was 5 seconds off 3 laps ago. He's now 3 seconds off, less than now. And Parker, unbelievable here as Ibrimi looks as though he has it covered, barring a mistake. Parker, he looks like, will he make an inside dive into the hairpin? No.
Oh, he's definitely close enough into the last corner though. Parker definitely close enough into the last corner here. He could have a lunge. He's going to decide against it. But what a race that was. Parker almost looks physically defeated if you have a look at his car now. He did such hard work to get there. Final corner, and Ibrahimi is going to take the win from Larenk and from Parker. What an unbelievable GT4 launch. And if this is not ACC's official advert for GT4, I don't know. They could never write. You could never script anything good enough for this.
Anybody who's on the fence about this game and the sim racing in this game just needs to be shown the last 3 laps here. That was unbelievable. Boardman looked like he had it covered midway through the race. He was exceeding track limits that we didn't know about. He gets the stop go, and oh my god, it turns into a 3-man scrap, and what a scrap that was.
We've got to say though, but I missed over the line. Over the line shenanigans there from Ivan in 11th place, but definitely one of the top drivers of the day was Bierman and Lopez, as number one speed, he was well up the field there, down in the grass at the moment, and Mello crossing the line in 18th. But who was I talking about now? I can't even concentrate. That was such a crazy race. Bierman and Lopez, well down the field, in the top 20 at some stage, and now they're all the way back up in 9th and 10th. So brilliant drive from them. Altia moving away up from 30th to 22nd. Our second of the lady drivers. Interesting to see where Victoria finished. Victoria down in 20th place, unfortunately. And Andy Boardman, the leader of this race for so long, crosses the line in 23rd place after a drive-through penalty for exceeding track limits. And So Michael giving me the information there. Stop go 30-second for Andy Boardman, and as well as a drive through. So the stop go for speeding in the pit lane. We'll go to the final results now. But I've shouted myself a headache. I'm absolutely blown away, and I've got to do this again for another 30 minutes.
I can't believe that. I mean, I don't know if we'll have the energy, Kyle, to do a second race. This is unbelievable. If it's anything like the first race, I think we're not going to be able to speak tomorrow.
I'm busy downing a glass of water now just so I've got a voice to make the next one. That was absolutely mind-blowing. If this isn't the official advert for ACC GT4 racing or just sim racing community worldwide, I don't know what is. So if you're on the fence about joining SimGrid as a online sim racing community, that should have proved to you that this is the place to be. SimGrid is the place to be in terms of sim racing. That was phenomenal.
Even more so, a bit of perspective is that there was 5 splits of this racing. There was 5. The racing you seen there on this SimGrid stream, there was 5 multipliers of that. Unbelievable stuff. And who knows the battles that we seen in the midfield that we missed out on. I'm sure there will be people in the SimGrid Discord talking about the crazy battles and sharing clips of their streams, etc. Unbelievable. But look at that mix. Look at the mix.
Our final results. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break as we look at our top 3. We will then rejoin for another 30 minutes of this craziness at the Hungaroring here on the SimGrid. Right, guys, we are back. We've rested our voices because we screamed literally the entire way through as we ride on board in free practice here at the Hungaroring with Alaric Enslin, one of our top qualifiers at Misano. Unfortunately, got disconnected and then had to start from the pit lane. But we've got a lot of information now on these GT4s while we've been away, and it seems that they are a lot harder to drive, both in the real, and they've tried to replicate that in ACC. These are very much road cars with a few modifications to make them track ready. A lot less aero than a GT3. That's why we see them run so close together. Smaller tires and a lot less setup work can be done to make these cars go fast. So that's why we see such a mix with the drivers in comparison to GT3, because they can't set the cars up the way they want them. They have to kind of drive them the way they are. So we'll see a lot of people swapping and changing cars. And speaking of that, we did see a Maserati out on the circuit earlier.
Interesting to note that Ibrahimi, the race winner at Misano, has not changed his car. No surprise there. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Neither has the man who looked as though from his pole position he would dominate the race before things got a little bit hectic. But one person that I do notice has changed car is Jordan Burrows. Just from my eye, he has switched from his Mercedes to the Porsche now. As we look at a Maserati is out on this grid. As for those unaware, no traction control, no ABS. So let's give John a bit of love. The Stank Racing team going for broken the Maserati here. They are taking a bold. He's already wide in the thing, just trying to get used to this car. He only has a couple of minutes of free practice left before we go into qualifying. But yeah, let's give some support for John in chat.
Yeah, John Clausen's the only American out there. One of the very few Americans out there, sorry, I think there's more than one. But choosing not to go with the patriotic choice and with the Chevy, as we see him go well wide of the circuit, we might just see him leave and come back with a different vehicle, because doesn't seem to have that one all together. No traction control and no ABS on this car. So we talked about these GT4s being slippery. I think this is probably going to be the most slippery car out there, as we see him take a lot of curb through the chicane. Let's switch over and listen to just the audio of this car. I'll stay quiet for a couple of minutes. Yeah, unfortunately, we can't quite hear the noise with the current speed he's doing, just getting used to the car. He needs to drive it a little bit harder there. But a wonderfully sounding vehicle that is the Maserati. But with no traction control, I'd also be tiptoeing around this track, trying to figure it out as he causes a bit of a traffic jam behind him there, John. So he's only got 2 minutes left of free practice to figure this car out. But straight back to the pits he goes, I think. No, just leaving it over for everybody else as he gets himself to grips with the Maserati.
Oh, he's sideways again.
Just about caught it.
I was just about to say a lesser man would have pulled in the pit lane, but I don't know, maybe he should have there.
On board now with Samir Ibrahimi from Germany. Is that Germany or Belgium? I never know, I get them mixed up all the time. Ibrahimi in third place at the moment, 0.9 of a second slower than Parker. So Parker coming out, German. Thank you, Michael. So 0.9 of a second off the pace. 0.8 of a second off the pace is Enslin. So Parker doing it again and bringing out the ridiculous lap time in qualifying. What is with this man?
Parker really is one for setting pace early on, really making a statement as he did in Misano, the pole man of Misano, by 0.6 of a second. But as we all seen in that wild race at Misano, not everything goes according to plan when there's other guys looking for that top spot.
Well, a lot of drivers that seem to have gotten these cars sorted out. Boardman, he didn't qualify very high in the last race, but able to get himself into the front, almost won the race. But decided the track wasn't wide enough for him and unfortunately used too much of it and ended up with a drive-through penalty and then a 30-second penalty on top of that. But just behind him there is Zarnecki, and Zarnecki moving himself up into 7th place in free practice. So another driver we didn't see a lot of in the last race, obviously still getting used to the GT4, and it looks like he's definitely gotten used to it now, running inside the top 10, just behind that of Mattia as well. So Mattia also doing very well to learn this car and move himself further up the timesheet in free practice.
I think we had, if I remember correctly from free practice, we had the top 10 at least covered within a second, and now we have the top two. James Parker is on an absolute another level here in free practice. Be interesting to see, though, as we see that, oh wow, the number 45 car getting very, very loose as Zarnecki. We see Boardman in front, just down to P10, but 0.6 of a second again, and 1 second to the car in P3 Tavaneri than the Porsche. It'll be interesting to see when we get to qualifying how Parker will be able to do.
Going back to the top of the, we're on board with Doricott now in the Alpine. We didn't see a lot of the Alpines up in front at Misano. Maybe we'll see more further up the field now in Hungaroring, a lot more along the straight. So I think the Alpine car is a little bit quicker in a straight line than what it is around the fast sweeping corners of Misano. Running a bit wide there through the last hairpin. Maybe that's his line. Runs it wide, cuts it in deep. Nope, missed the apex altogether. Apex called, mate. It's missing you. But that brings to a close the end of free practice. There's only a minute 23 left to go, but Doricott will get one last lap in 2 seconds off the pace. So a second separating third down to 11th, but the top two in a league of their own at the moment.
We're on board with Tavaneri trying to close that gap to the front two. The front two of qualifying in Misano, the front two in free practice right now. Hopefully Enslin will not have his issues that he had at the Misano race. He looked like he would be the man to challenge Parker if he went by qualifying times, but as we all seen, it just turned into a four-man battle for the lead.
Yeah, Parker doing all the hard work. There goes my voice from the screaming in the previous round. But Parker doing all the hard work in that last race to move himself back up into the top three. And unfortunately, he wasn't rewarded for it with the win. We thought he could do it from there, but the Porsche was difficult to get by with anybody else who just didn't have the top end to do it. That could have been from the damage that resulted in the contact he had as well. So it might not be a true representation of the speed of the Porsche in GT4. So it'll be interesting to see now if he gets away with no damage, if he can put his head down and get away from the field and take Enslin with him, because it looks like Ulrich Enslin will be the only person to hang with him. But as we end free practice and go into qualifying, it looks as though we lost Parker down in 16th place, so they moved him back to the grid slots. Alaric Enslin, first one out now in qualifying, going for that clean air out in the front. But we know these cars on cold tires don't set the lap times that we know they can toward the end of qualifying. So Alaric Enslin going to be lucky not to run into traffic at the end of this lap.
Looking at the track map, a lot of people just taking their time coming out of pit lane. It is a decently long track here. We know that the Hungaroring 4.3k in length, just a bit longer than Misano at 4.2. So seems similar distance. So hopefully, we've seen in qualifying in Misano, everyone very, very bunched up. Hopefully the guys will actually use the new features that SEC are putting in and will use the track map to separate themselves a bit more so they get the clean air.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see that nobody goes out and blocks Alaric there on his fast lap. I'd obviously love to see Alaric do well, my countryman from South Africa. Quite a lacquer lad as well. We've done a lot of racing together in the sim world here in South Africa, and he's very, very humble and always a great sportsman, so it'll be nice to see him further up the front. But that's just me being biased as a commentator, something I should never do. But on board now with Alaric, as we look at everybody piling out of the pits, it looks as though he will get a clear first flat-out lap. But just behind him is another... call me out here, Connall.
Yeah, Nowakowski, second place at the minute. He is in the Porsche, followed by Shermadinsky and Dorikov, followed by the much easier to pronounce Ham.
That's why I left it to you, mate. That's exactly why I left it to you. I was going to take over from Ham, but we got it done. We got the names out. Whew, European names. I struggle with them, I must be honest. But Alaric ended up coming across to start his first flying lap with 13 minutes of qualifying to go. His last lap at 2 minutes 52, but that includes his out lap from the pit. So it'll be interesting to see what this man does here, and if he can stick himself, find 0.6 of a second, and beat Parker to pole at the end of qualifying. But it all remains to be seen at the moment. Parker is out on circuit at the moment, so he will also be setting a flat-out lap after we've had a look at Alaric's. But we can see Nowakowski is... I got it right. Nowakowski is losing a lot of ground on Alaric on this lap. So Alaric putting the hammer down early. So getting temperature in the tires nice and early and putting the hammer down very early to get away from Nowakowski. in the. I'm sad because Michael just told me it's Novakoski, so it's not Nowoski. It's Novakoski. It's Mika. It's Mika there in second place. He's in second from our Carbon Esports. So Mika in the blue, yellow, and white Porsche. In second place at the moment because that's how he left the pit lane. Setting his first flying lap, but losing some time on Alaric Enslin, who is currently our first front runner on a flat-out lap. Just behind Mika now, though, is Andy Boardman on the road. So it'll be interesting to see what Andy Boardman does as well. So it'll be nice to stay with this front group, see what time Alaric throws down, see what time Mika throws down, and see what time Andy Boardman throws down. But Andy looks like he's on a proper charge at the moment behind Mika.
Very, very interesting. If you look at what is going on the road, you can see Parker and Ibrahimi right beside each other here on track according to the standings. The two guys who traded paint quite a lot in the Misano race. As we see Alaric coming across the line, he's going to set the benchmark for the entire field, and it should be a pretty good benchmark. It's a 153.5.
Now Mika crossing the line now. What does he do? He does a 154.3, and Andy Boardman puts it on provisional pole with a 153.4, but we did see 152s out of Parker and 152s out of Alaric. So it'll be interesting to see what they do now. Gregor Skill crossed the line with a 157.3, so obviously in a lot of traffic there. Deciding to there we go, Parker. See? 152. 152.9. How's it, boys? Thanks for coming. Oh, and I was in traffic, by the way.
Yeah,
so
he looks
down Ibrahimi.
He looks as though he's chasing down Ibrahimi, and we see the Maserati just in a bit of bother, as we see per John Claessens and Stein Grayson. He looks like he's having a bit of a struggle here. Interestingly enough, Jordan Burroughs switched back from the Porsche. He is back into his Mercedes, excuse me. He will be obviously much more comfortable in it from having raced and done his qualifying session at Misano in the Mercedes. As my pick for the last race, Gregor Schill, well, he's changed his number. He's now 777, which is disappointing on a personal note for me. No one seems to be repping the number 16. I see a 46 there, Forza Valentino, for this weekend for any MotoGP fans. But yes, it will be interesting to see John Claessens, if he can make it round on a clean lap, what lap times he'll be able to do in the Maserati.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be very difficult for the guys not to cross track limits and invalidate laps here. Enslin still half a second off the pace, but going to go big oversteer moment on the last corner there. Well, second to the last corner, sorry. So I don't think this is... Oh, he's still 0.4 of a second up, so he'll be going into the 52s, and he will be sticking it on provisional pole if he can get out of this last corner. The back end of that BM all over the place, so a bit of a drift machine there. Crosses the line, he lost a bit of time exiting that corner. It's a 153.1, but he did look like he was going to stick it on provisional pole. Parker on a stonker, he's going to go 0.3 quicker than his previous lap if he can get through the last turn comfortably, and he's caught a lot of time on Ibrahimi. So we'll see Ibrahimi move up the field, but Parker's going to go even quicker than his previous lap. 152.5, and maintains that half a second gap to Boardman. Ibrahimi moves himself up to third, but 0.6 off the pace.
Stunning lap time from Parker. It's one of those things that when you're Boardman, Ibrahimi, or any of those guys in the lower end fighting for the top 10, when you see you're absolutely on your limits trying to set these lap times, you're in the 53s, and then you look up at the fastest time, you see a 52.5, and as much as you want to, you just get demoralized.
Connall, our voices are not going to get any break looking at this qualifying because it's Parker on pole, it's Boardman in second, Lorenk in third, Ibrahimi in fourth, and Enslin in fifth, and they're all within 0.1 of each other. Well, besides Parker, who's in Group A.
I don't care what these guys say after the race. There will be some retribution. They'll be desperate to get retribution on each other after the ding-dong battle of Misano, especially the guys who lost out big time. Boardman will be looking to have a better race, especially with his top goal penalty. Maybe he'll be a little less vigorous over the curbs, shall we say, as we see Lorenk here. Number 3, P3. He was P3 most of the race, moved his way up into P2, and was hunting down Boardman before the penalty occurred.
It's absolutely amazing to go through this entire grid and see from second down to 12th is separated by second. Then from 12th or 13th down to 19th is separated by 0.2 of a second. This is ridiculous. We're not racing throughout the pack. Zarnecki, a front runner. Oh, big. Did he make contact? Big mess there in qualifying, but we go back to Carson. Right, producer.
This still might be a lap time, even though it'll be a slow one. No, it isn't. Still not a lap time, John. I'm still rooting for you, buddy. If you're watching this back after the race, I am rooting for you. I hope you have a good one.
I feel so bad for Clausen because every time we switch the camera to him, he gets sideways. So, new rule for the remainder of qualifying: we don't want to see Clausen's, guys. We don't want to switch the camera to him because every time we do, he's sideways. But on board now with Gregor Schill down in 27th place. That he must have not set a lap time. No, he hasn't. He's going to set his first lap time of the qualifying session. It'll be interesting to see where the lone KTM crossbow crosses the line at. The 777 of Gregor Schill is going to cross the line now from True Racing, and we'll see what lap time he can smash out now. It's a 154.8, so well off the pace he had at Misano. And he's actually pulling over back to the pits. He's only got 6 minutes to go. So this is a little bit risky to go back to the pits and make changes.
Interesting from the man who was P4 at Misano. He had a bit of he was in mid-pack in Misano and then just made his way through. He stayed out of trouble near the end, especially when the guys were battling at the front. He was only, I think, 2.5 seconds off at the very end of the race. So you see him down there in 24th. He's obviously having problems. 2.3 seconds off the pace. We say 2.3 seconds as if it's a massive time, but especially around here, it's not that much, especially with new cars. But yeah, when this competitive field, when you're 2.3 seconds off, you're in 24th in the grid.
Yeah, we only barely make the top 10, but 5. This is...
Yeah, I'm sure you can hear. Ironically enough, we're got connection lost racing on screens, Martin Lorenk, while Kyle's is having a bit of technical difficulties. Lorenk P3 now. We're seeming to be having the front guys from Misano really showing again. Enslin, unfortunately, is 5th. He was on the front row at Misano as we see Lorenk over the line. That's a 53.2 across the line compared to his best time of a 53.1. So Lorenk consistent, but not improving.
Just meet me there and do check for me. Okay, I'm back. Sorry guys, I'm just having a bit of issues with my headset for our next stream. But on board now with Mike Veerman from MV Racing. He's down in 10th place. We saw him move himself up from a 20-odd position, but now actually qualifying further up the grid. So it'll be interesting to see what this man can throw together in this race. A 153.3. He's only 0.8 of a second off the pace, but he's down in 8th. Just shows you how close this field is.
I think Veerman, for me, got the pass of the race with that beautiful cutback run on the back straight at Misano. So we'll see what he'll be able to do with his... He's clearly got the racecraft to read people in front of him. So we'll see, especially at a track here where it's notoriously hard place to pass, barring the few corners that are hot spots. As we see the pole man now, James Parker. He's just come out of pit lane. He's just done a 2-minute lap time. He's 152.5 so far,
and he's 0.3 of a second
up. We could see this guy into the 51s.
Okay, that's it. Parker goes up to Class A, split 0. Everybody else racing split 1. So Parker's somehow getting a GT3 car onto the circuit with no one noticing. I want that car stripped. I protest.
Yeah, we're gonna see a couple of protests filed here as the scrutineer stripped this car down into itty bitty pieces. And we see the GT3 engine. This is unbelievable from Parker. He's almost 0.4 up. I did say he might be in the 51s, almost in jest, but he's not far from it. Look at him. He's using every inch of the track to perfection here. As he goes, he's still 0.3. He's maintained that 0.3 most of the lap. He's lost a bit of time here through that corner, but he's gained it back on exit. He could be down into a 52.2, and with nobody improving, he could be 7/10 up on the field.
A lot of movement though behind him. Ibrahimi up to 2nd, Boardman down to 3rd, Lorenk in 4th, and Enslin down to 5th. Sorry, that actually isn't a lot of movement. It's just Ibrahimi that's moved himself up into 2nd place. But 0.48, 0.46 up on this lap. He is so close to a 51. It's actually scary. 52.044. The man is almost a second quicker than anybody else. Stop. Parker. Stop. No. Stop. Over. Don't do another lap.
Yeah, I don't know.
0.2 up for Tavernetti, but this is a disallowed lap, so he has run wide somewhere. So he has gone 0.2 up, but this lap will be disallowed.
I don't know about the rest of the field. Kyle was demoralising me watching Parker around here. I just know a 52 flat isn't. I'm not going to be anywhere close to when I get on these GT4 cars. I'm not going to be close, and I'm going to probably do 56s and cry myself to sleep.
Look, Parker's almost quicker than I am in a GT3 car, so it's just not on. It's just not on. 153.1 for Tavernetti. That is his best. His last lap was a 53.8, but it was disallowed. He was 0.2 up, but obviously just bailed out of that lap knowing that it wasn't going to count. He's got one more lap left, I think, in qualifying. On board now with Lorenk. We've obviously got on board with him because he's a little bit further up on this lap. He's found a bit of time somewhere. Yeah, 0.1 of us say, disallowed. So he's run wide somewhere, and this run wide somewhere.
Yeah, he just looks as though he gone a little wide there, 2-3. He looked like when he was entering that corner, he was absolutely on the limits, and it showed by exceeding track limits. We've got Sai here now on board with him in the Alpine. He's about to go 2 tenths up if he maintains this lap. Interested to see how the Alpines will do in this race.
He's interesting. Oh, that was close. So he's going to go 0.2 faster. He's going to move up quite a few, and then he's going to breathe an absolute sigh because he's going to look up and see Parker doing a 52 deck. So he's going to be all excited to drop into the 53s, move himself up. And unfortunately, he moves himself straight up to 13th place. It just shows how close. 5 places by finding 0.2 of a second. If he finds another 0.2, he goes up into the top 10. This is absolutely phenomenal how close these cars are on such a long lap. It's not like this is a short lap either. It's not like we're on Brands Hatch Indy. I mean, these are the gaps you'd expect to see at a very short circuit. But we're on board now with Muscat, normally a front runner. He was in the top 10 or top 11 at the last race. Down in 21st, 2.2 seconds of the pace. So we can see the differences in the cars throughout the different circuits. We saw a couple of Mercedes much higher up in qualifying at Misano, but they seem a lot lower down now. I think he's actually... Burrows is in 10th. I think he might be the lead Mercedes-Benz.
Interesting to see no one going for the KTM just yet. I'm sure most of the field, as we can see, for those guys we watched at Misano, most of the guys haven't actually changed their cars. But it'll be interesting to see in the next GT4 race that SimGrid hosts. It'll be interesting to see the difference between, especially the top guys. Will they change from? I'm sure they'll get more experience in cars and they'll get dialed in. But let's hope Parker doesn't find a car that suits him better, because then we're just all in for it.
Yeah, so as qualifying ends, we've got a couple of more guys left to do one more lap. There's a minute waiting time. I think Muscat will get one in. Lorenk won't. He is 0.2 up on this lap, but I don't know if it's going to give him the time to get the lap done. He's got about half a lap left to go with a minute max wait time, but that's not always accurate. It does cut through to a race. So he might just make it across the line with 0.23 up. Where does that 0.2 take him? He's still a second off poleman, unbelievably. So it might take him up into second place. He has lost all of that 0.2 through that sector, though. He's down to 0.9, but that will still move him up 1 place as he comes to the end of his lap. Martin Lorenk, 153.1 at the moment, looking to go into the 52s. I mean, we thought 52s were going to be quick, but... it looked like you need to go into a 51 now to take pole position from James Parker.
Right now, in the Camaro, it does visually look very, very difficult lap that he's setting here. Looks like it's a lot of work physically here. Camaro does not look like it wants to turn, but Connection Lost Racing's Lorenk comes across the line. Will he get himself into the top 3? He goes across the line. He does not improve his time. He stays where he is in P4. 1 second off the phenomenal James Parker.
Alaric Ensling asking Samir there on the chat for a setup for the boat. I'm assuming he's talking about the BMW. Alaric, my mate, I think you're okay there with your setup, bud. You're only a couple of tenths off, so I don't know if the setup is going to help that Ibrahimi has given you. But nice to see the community between all these drivers as we go to the grid now. 2 minutes left to go. Qualifying is James Parker in Class A on pole with Ibrahimi in second place, poleman in Class B. I'm kidding, there are no classes. Parker's just that far ahead. Boardman in third, Lorenk in fourth, Ensling in fifth, Tavanari rounding out sixth, Mika in seventh, Veerman down 8th, Nolo 9th, and Burrows 10th. Nice mix of manufacturers, but the Porsche does seem dominant here. 3 Porsches in the top 10, 3 BMWs in the top 10. So if you ain't German, you ain't winning at the moment, it seems, in this class.
The Aston Martin being shown by Boardman. The Chevrolet Camaro, the only one inside the top 10. But as you say, Kyle, 3 Porsches in the top 10. But we've seen in the race, there was only one Porsche that was performing well, and that was the main man, Parker.
As we head now into the start of our GT4 launch night here with SimGrid and Coach Dave Academy, there will be a sprint race, a sprint championship that will be launched by SimGrid coming up in the next week. It is, for more information, guys, please go check out the simgrid.com. Get your registrations in, get involved. It's not just the GT4. We see this crazy type racing. It is in every single split of the GT3s as well. So go check out the simgrid.com. Get yourself registered and get involved and come racing with us and let myself and Connall have some new names to chant as we watch these races. Connall, you've got more information of that Sprint Cup. When does it start? When do we get going? What's the plan there?
Yeah, well, if you've been enjoying the racing so far, we have good news. We are here again tomorrow, same time as tonight, 8:30 European time, and we have action from Zolder in the Sprint Cup. We've seen times internally. There's a lot of quick times, a lot of quick drivers, but there is multiple splits. We're going to have action all across the board from drivers well experienced and beginners, so it really will. We'll of course be covering the top split, and I'm sure we'll see some of these guys that we've seen, and if it's anything like the way they drive in GT4, we're in for one hell of a race at Zolder tomorrow night, 8:30.
Connall and myself will join you again here in the virtual commentary booth. Michael Hamlet joins us again from the pit lane. Connell's been nice enough to give him a radio, so he doesn't have to run up and down the flight of stairs anymore. I felt like that was spoiling him a little bit, but Connall being the nicer guy than me. On board now with Parker on the warm-up lap, not weaving like we saw him do at Misano, so maybe just not too perturbed about the tyre temperatures just yet. But they are doing their warm-up lap. They do have a box that they have to keep the car within, otherwise they will be teleported. And they have to maintain a pace throughout the lap, and then you'll see them line up side by side. They'll then be given a speed limit they have to follow until the green lights are out. As soon as those green lights are out, we are racing. Hopefully we don't see any power-ups into turn 1. They keep it all neat and tidy. But turn 1, 2, and 3 on the first lap in this track is very tricky. I mean, we've seen Webber and Verstappen take each other out. We've seen a lot of drivers get into accidents in Formula 1 as well as in other classes that I have watched around here, the Renault 3.5 as well. So a lot of accidents through turn 1, 2, and 3 here. Hopefully we don't see that in this SimGrid race. Having a look back at John Claessen's weaving drastically in that Maserati, trying to get some warmth into those rear tires. Qualifying down in 29th, 9 seconds off the pace, and just not coming to grips with that Maserati and proving why no one else has chosen it for this launch event here with the SimGrid.
Interesting to see there while we were looking at the leaders, Ibrahimi, a much more gentle warm-up lap than at Misano. Of course, if you're with us for the Misano races, we see almost contact there with Josh Martin. If you've seen the Misano warm-up to the start of the race, Ibrahimi was in the gravel at turn 5, warming up his tires, maybe getting a little bit too aggressive, focusing too much. Of course, GT4s, if you weren't with us at Misano, no tire warmers here, so we will see possibly, I said at Misano that we would have 2 laps of maybe cautious racing, but we've seen the incidents there, so we will just see the same aggressive driving but on colder tires, which means carnage.
Yeah, we saw a lot of errors and a lot of mistakes. Hopefully no carnage though. Hopefully only good racing. Alaric Ensign made the start of this race. He missed the start to Misano from 2nd place. He's now down in that 5th place. But the man to watch will be Parker if he can get the whole shot into turn 1. But we know the BMW is a little bit quick in a straight line. We do assume it was because of the damage that Parker had that he struggled so badly. But they're getting ready to hit the green light and get racing. The front two got a bit of a gap. They got into their blocks a little bit better. waiting for the green light now. We go back to Alaric Ensel down there in 5th place. Green light is on. We are racing. Parker's got a good hole shot off the line. He's managed to stay ahead of Ibrahimi this time into turn 1. Ensel deep down the inside. They're going to go 3 into 1 into turn 1. Ensel backs out of it though. Rather get through the first lap and fight on throughout this race. So a little bit more neat and tidy further back as well. So we see the big oversteer moment from BMW. I think that's Veerman in the background. But running very close together and rubbing mirrors again is Parker and Ibrahimi. Ibrahimi not letting Parker get away with this one. He's going to get past him through turn 2 and stop Parker from getting on into the front and getting the whole shot and getting going. Big drop down from Ensland into 6th.
Ibrahimi had to do that. We've seen the pace of Parker over qualifying. We've seen what he can do when he's climbing up the order. He can make those passes. As we see close action in the mid-pack, as we're on board with Chris Hope, and now we're Dorcott in 17th place. Everything is bunched up nicely right now. Very clean. Expected a bit more.
Ooh, big dive from Mika. Sorry. Big dive from Mika there, moving himself up into 7th place. So Mika making a bit of contact further back through the chicane. That's Sai that gets through it, but 3, 4, 5 cars facing the wrong direction there through the chicane. Zarnecki, a big winner there, moving up into 11th place. James Parker showing in 2nd at the moment and under massive pressure from Andy Boardman. So Parker obviously making a change in that car to make it run better towards the end of the race, and it's hurting him at the moment.
Ibrahimi just trying to stretch that lead. If he can get a gap, maybe he stretches. At least if Parker comes with him, then maybe the guys Boardman, Laurent, the guys he was battling with in the race at Misano won't be there. But it looks as though with the pace they have, it is another group of 4. Ensland just dropping off, just wide there coming into the last corner. So it looks like it's the same fabulous 4 that we had at Misano at the front.
Yeah, Veerman putting big pressure on Ensland at the moment, and Mika, they're all bunched pretty close together. We see a lot of moving and shaking. That's Victoria getting up the inside there. She's had some great starts in Misano. Is that Victoria that we looking at? Yes, it is. Victoria Thompson making 2 places on, it looked to be Mattia at the moment. So Mattia looking good in qualifying, but well done the order now after the first lap. Parker's got some breathing room on Boardman. Down the inside though goes the Chevy. No, he backs out of it. Ensland still defending from that BMW behind him of Veerman. We know Veerman's got racecraft. We saw that beautiful cutback in Misano. Does he have it on Ensland though to get himself up in the 5th place?
BMW versus BMW here, identical cars, so it will be purely on racecraft, and if it's anything we've seen from Veerman, he can do it. As we see Ensland wide again, another, I believe that was Chris Hope there that was wide, or maybe Zarnecki it was in the Porsche, as we're on board with Tavaneri right now. He's looking to go defensive here on Nowakowski into the chicane. He's sideways, he's getting it loose. Nowakowski pushes it back, he cuts back at the chicane, but he can't get it done, and it is nicely bunching up now. That is not what you want to see in your rearview mirror. 5 cars hounding you as you go down into the sector 3 of the Hungaroring.
Yeah, in that rearview mirror it'll look like, Andy Boardman down the inside of, is that Loring. So Andy Boardman lost the place to Loring and is now trying to get it back. So Loring getting past Andy Boardman. That's brought Alaric Ensland into the fight, as well as Veerman, and the 4 behind them are going to join as well. So we're going to have a 10. Boardman runs wide. Boardman gives a place to, big contact with Ensland, Loring and Boardman. How did they all make it around there without someone exiting stage left or right there? Boardman still side by side with Loring at the moment. So a big battle here. This is playing into the hands of Parker and Ibrahimi. Look at the power of that Chev though. Drives around the outside of it. There'll be a drag race down to turn 1. But that Chevy looks like he's already gone past before they go on the brakes. But Ensland's also got a double slip. He's looking to go 3 wide. He's down the inside of Loring. He's got the move. Contact! Ensland saves the rear end and Loring gets sent down behind Veerman. What 3 corners was that? And we're only 25 minutes into the race. My voice is already about to break.
Unbelievable. I was hoping that we would get maybe a bit of break at the start of the race, so we'd have something left to be able to speak at the last few 10 minutes. But 25 minutes to go in this race, and already we have seen some crazy action. It looks as though Laurent tried to cut back on Boardman, maybe not realising that Ensland was there. We're seeing flashing in the lights from Veerman, but I don't know why he's flashing his lights, because these guys are all in the race together. We've got Ensland now up to 4th position, Boardman in 3rd, and that has let the leaders away big time. 3.2 seconds to the 2 leaders, Ibrahimi and Parker, who are right beside one another. But look at this. I said earlier, you don't want to see 5 cars in your rearview mirror. How about 10?
Have a look at Trevin. Oh my. There is a freight train of cars just waiting. This is a karting race. This is not a saloon car race. We are watching a karting race. This is unbelievable. I feel like I'm watching a world final or European event in a karting race. It is phenomenal to see all these cars so close together. Andy Boardman clearly not having the pace. He had a gap on Ensign. Ensign running wide everywhere, so he must be close to receiving a drive-through penalty for track limits. It does give you warnings. So he might be a little bit close to getting that drive-through penalty, but he is definitely all over the back of Boardman. And behind him, he's been given the hurry-up from Veerman. As we go back to Jack Noller in 10th place, he's on for a 3rd place where he is on the grid. That is in this pack. It is unbelievable. Look at all these cars, all the way down to 15th place. Someone could finish in 3rd here.
I don't know if this sim grid racing is good for my health. I'm going to have to go back to train and build up my cardio here and get better lungs because I'm out of breath.
Oh, down the inside.
Dive up the inside. Who was
that? Was Zarnecki. Zarnecki diving it down the inside but they've caused a gap. 3 cars now. 4 cars. They're going to go 4 abreast. Zarnecki going to be the big loser here. 3 abreast into the left-hand contact there. 3 into 1 doesn't go, guys. I told you this at Misano, but somehow they make it all the way around there. And another driver's joined the party. Who is that? I've got to look further down. Now, that's Sai joining the party there behind Zarnecki. Wow. Racing throughout this field.
I cannot believe this. This is unbelievable racing. We have 3 Alpines together, split by Zarnecki. He is being ganged up on by the Alpines, and you can see it on track there as we go back to... there's just battles throughout the field. Look at this. Look at the gaps. You go from the battle from... That's 10th to 14th. There's less than a second between each driver. In fact, there's mostly less than half a second between each driver. We're cutting back now to the leader. He's kept his lead so far. His last lap time was a 52.7. So I think that's actually quicker than his qualifying lap. Parker was a 52 flat and Ibrahimi was 8 tenths off. So Ibrahimi going faster than qualifying.
Yeah, definitely Parker's car coming into its own there. Engelin still defending from Veerman. Veerman now just got his brights on permanently. So Veerman putting massive pressure on Engelin to let him go and let him get... down there. Was that down the inside or was that just his line? So Engelin all over the back of Andy Boardman. Andy Boardman's car obviously not right yet for this sort of track temperature and this early on in the race. There's still 22 minutes to go, so only 8 minutes have been done of this race. So these cars haven't quite come into their own yet. But as I say that, the Porsche down the inside, that's Tavanari looking on Lorenk. Lorenk, we thought was going to be a front runner. He's now losing another place, going down to 7th on Tavanari, who slides the car past him through turn 1 there, or turn 2. They head now into this left-hand sweep. He's on the outside of Lorenk. Lorenk can hold on to that position. And just behind them, we see Mika getting involved in this fight as well. So this is going to be a battle till the end of the race.
Nowakowski was begging for a contact there that slips through the 2 of them. It's unbelievable this race, and we've got Nowakowski there and we had Tavanari, the 2 Porsche cars getting sandwiched. Lorenk, well, unbelievable. First he was battling for the lead, you get caught up in a couple of incidents, you get caught up in some battles and you're struggling to stay in the top 6.
Yeah, these 3 together, 3 Mercedes, looks like they're towing each other around the track. But Alaric Engelin still holding on to 4th place from Coach Dave Academy. He's down to 153.7. So these guys are almost a second off the front pace. It'll be interesting to see what pace Parker's doing now. That it looked like his car is coming into its own behind Ibrahimi. But the gap now down to 0.3 between the 2 of them. Ibrahimi did have a bigger gap at the start of this lap. But this battle is absolutely phenomenal. Alaric Engelin all over the back of Andy Boardman in this last part of the lap. But Veerman is just hungry to get past.
Unbelievable. Look at this. Was there a group of 6? We've got a BMW. We've got Aston Martin leading in Boardman. We've got a BMW followed by another BMW. We've got that lone Chevy of Lorenk. We've got 2 Porsche. How many manufacturers do you want inside the top 10?
Yeah, the Genetta of Nolo was right in that pack, but he got into a dice with, I think it was, no, it wasn't Mika, but he was dicing with somebody, he got forced wide. I think it was Zarnecki and himself actually had a bit of contact. There was a big dive from Zarnecki, and he lost a lot of pace on this group in front. He's made another mistake now. He's going to lose another pace to the Alpine if he's not careful. That Alpine of Chris Hook going around the outside now. Is he going to make it stick? He's going to do the cutback. No, Nolo wise to it, closes the gap, but fighting all the way through this field. It was unbelievable to watch.
It just shows you how that 3rd to 8th battle is holding each other up, because here's Chris Hook. He did a last lap time 53.5. He's quicker than the guys in front. If he could get past Noller, he could possibly catch these guys, but it just shows you how much a battle, especially on a track like the Hungaroring, can hold you up. Chris Hook, we're just getting information from our great trackside reporter Michael that Chris Hook is actually the 6th fastest guy on track, so he could definitely close this group. He might actually use Noller now to catch him up to that lead group, because Noller was in that group before. I believe an incident occurred with him and Zornecki.
Big mistake from, sorry to interrupt it, big mistake from Veerman, and he's lost. Oh, moves are plenty here. It's Parker down the inside for the lead on Ibrahimi. He's bailed out of it, so Ibrahimi already going defensive with 18 minutes to go. Please, guys, you can't do this to me for 18 minutes. I can't handle it. I can't handle this for 18 minutes. But this is absolutely insane. Parker's all over the back of Ibrahimi, and we are seeing a carbon copy of the race we just watched at Misano. Difference being, it's starting with 18 minutes left to go instead of 5.
Yeah, and we've seen Parker just getting Ibrahimi's attention, just letting him know, hey mate, you know, I'm on you, I can choose to pass you where I want, playing some psychological mind games here. We'll see how Ibrahimi reacts as we cut back to Victoria Thompson in the Audi, one of the top Audi, and I think possibly the lone Audi in this race.
So lone Audi and top female driver in the field, but it's Ensign trying to go around the outside of Andy Boardman. So Ensign's still over the back of Andy Boardman, and they've gotten a bit of a gap on Veerman. But behind them, I see Lorenk has lost a lot of time and is probably dicing with Tavanari further back behind Veerman. Veerman running very wide there. That will be a track limit if the game decides he gained time. But big gap now between Veerman and Lorenk. Lorenk down to 8th now. So obviously contact between Lorenk and someone else there, and has dropped Lorenk down to 8th place. I would assume it's Tavanari or Mika, and he's dropped way down into 8th. So Torink and Tavanara, Luke and Mika, getting a decent gap there now on Lorenk.
The Tavanari Enslin now with the fastest lap on that last lap. He is really pushing Andy Boardman to his limits. Be interesting to see pace-wise if Ensign does get clear tarmac now. Would he have been able to run with the front runners before the big battles that they have? They're now 4 seconds behind the leading 2, so that race is pretty much done, unless we see a repeat of Misano and we see Ibrahimi and Parker getting side to side, Fern banging action.
Yeah, well, we saw Parker come back from miles in the previous race. Sorry, Mark, cut you off there. Yeah, we saw Ensign trying to use that now on the exit there. Just get a little bit too excited on the loud pedal and started waving his bum at us. So unfortunately, didn't get the drive he wanted to. And we see Veerman getting right into the back of him again. Veerman definitely has the pace on both of these cars. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe Ensign lets Veerman go to have a go at Boardman, because Elleric's been trying to get past him the whole race. He spent pretty much half the race trying to get past that Aston Martin. Maybe give someone else a go and you can go with 2. That would be my mindset as a racing driver as we watch Chavinari get very, very wide. That's going to allow Mika to have a go at him. Can't see from this far back. No, he's not close enough yet. But Veerman definitely got the pace on these 2 as well. And we know Veerman is a very, very hard racer.
It'll be interesting to see Boardman's car, the way he reacts whenever Ensign really starts looking to make moves up the inside. Will he go defensive, or will he let Ensign go to try and tag onto the back of him and bring him possibly up to Ibrahimi and Parker? It could almost be like a cycling group where you've got the leaders way out in front and the peloton is trying to chase them guys down. But unless Ibrahimi and Parker do start banging against each other, can't see the guys behind catching.
Yeah, they've gained another 4 tenths on this lap alone, so they are definitely gapping away or checking out in the front there. Parker still 0.2 seconds off that of Ibrahimi. In fact, it's been 0.262 in both splits. But Parker, very interesting line there. He does stay narrow. I don't know if he's just showing his nose to Ibrahimi, who's wide on the power there. The Porsche is going to have the run in him into the right-hander. Is he going to stick it up? No, he's going to bail out of that idea. He doesn't want to crash this early on. He crashed in the first lap with the Misano. He doesn't want to crash now. But this race is going to carry on until the dying laps if they stay this way. But behind them, Boardman still under massive pressure from Alaric Enslin.
Parker will just be taking a wee note in his rear view mirror of where Boardman is. He will be managing this pace. He's right behind Ibrahimi. He looks comfortable. If he starts seeing that gap drastically coming down in the later stages of this race with Boardman, Ensign, Verm in that group, he may go earlier than initially planned.
Yeah, look, I think the gap's now 4.3. So with him settling down further back, Boardman looks like he's maintained pace. It looks like Ibrahimi is losing time. And the gap to Ensign has gone up to 0.5. So maybe the BMW is just losing a bit of pace now with 14 minutes left to go in this race. We've passed the halfway distance. So we can look to see a little bit of moving and shaking now with half the race done. But Parker definitely does look like he has the pace on the Ibrahimi car in front of him. 152.9 now for Parker. So only 0.2 slower than Ibrahimi's fastest lap. But bear in mind, Parker's been stuck on the bumper of this BMW the entire race. So that isn't a true reflection of the pace that Parker has.
Over 15 minutes, over halfway into this race, and Parker's in the 52s. As we don't forget, in qualifying there was only 2 drivers in the 52s, and you were looking at them, Ibrahimi and Parker. The rest could only do 53s, and Parker is doing 52s as race pace.
Interesting to see there, Lorraine's caught back up to these two. So Lorraine's caught back up to these two. It's Mika and Tavanari, and he'll be looking to get past very, very soon. That Chev should make short work of the Porsche in a straight line. So we should see down the main straight, Lorraine able to make a move down the inside of Mika and possibly the next lap, Tavanari. We know how fast that Chev is in a straight line. We saw him do a drag race. Nolla down to 12th. So Nolla lost a lot of time. He's actually down to 13th. And Victoria Thompson, almost getting rear-ended by the Mercedes-Benz Matara behind her, is up into 13th place and having a great race. The lone Audi and the leading female driver in this field. She runs wide into the last corner. That Mercedes-Benz is going to be all over her down into turn 1. If you check the tail end, oh, contact. A little bit of rubbing is racing. A little bit of Mateo tuning. Come on, boy. Come on, girl. Let's keep going. Let's help you along there. Let's go catch Nolla and get past him. But unfortunately, not able to help her onto the back of Nolla on the exit there. So interesting to see the pushing and shoving. But that Audi, the back end of that Audi, not looking very stable. She's lost a lot of drive. It's Bart trying to go around the outside of her. She's going to be late in the brakes here. He's going to go for the cutback. He's gotten late in the brakes. He's going to try and turn it in. But Victoria a little bit wiser to that and holds on to that tighter line to maintain her position.
Yeah, great defensive driving from Victoria there, preventing the cutback happening. It'll be interesting to see now Chris Hope, now that he's got rid of Noller. Either Noller was dragging him up to the group ahead, or he held the pace, because he's only 1.6 off Dorcat, and then Dorcat a further 0.2 off Larenk now after those mistakes. And look at that, you can see Larenk in the Chevrolet. He's not far off Nowakowski. So we'll be interesting to see now Chris Hope, the Dorcat and Hope in the Renault Alpines. The 2 Alpines now, 9th and 10th. I think there's another Alpine in 20th, but yeah, 9th and 10th so far for the Alpines.
Yeah, good to see a great mix of manufacturers throughout here. The Alpine looking racy, but it's the Chevy down the inside on the Porsche. He's going to back out. He backed out of that move very, very late. It almost looked like he was going to run into the back of Mika there as they head through this right-left cutback and now into the second last corner. We know the Chevy's quick in a straight line. We know it struggles to change direction. So we see it lose a lot of time on the Porsche there, but it will gain it all back in a straight line here as they get on the power. It takes him a while to get on the power though. There's a lot of horsepower in that Chev. He's gotten a good run and he should drive right onto the back. Oh, down the inside now goes Parker on Ibrahimi. That move's done and dusted. Ibrahimi's going to try and go around the outside. Parker leaves him far more room than I would have, but still manages to get the move done. Ibrahimi, we know, can out-drag that Porsche down to the left-hander, so he's still got the inside line. He's going to brake deep and late. Parker giving him just enough room so that they don't make contact. But Ibrahimi slides the back end of that car back into the Porsche. The Porsche stays there. They're going to make contact. Great awareness from Parker not to make contact with Ibrahimi, but he's not done just yet. He's looking to get past around the inside there. Ibrahimi wide split, but that BMW just way too quick in a straight line. Parker's going to try to go around the long way around here. He's more than enough up the inside. around the outside, sorry, but he just can't get on the power to stay next to that BMW. That BMW is crazy fast in a straight line. But Parker not done yet through the chicane, quite a bit quicker. Is he going to dive it down the inside here into the left-hander? It's going to be a lunge, so he's decided against it. Wow, we are starting now with 10 minutes still to go. In the background, Enslin gets past. So Lorenk has gotten past Mika, and Enslin looks like he's gotten past Andy Boardman.
Wow, Lorenk is now really shoving his way through. He knows he has the pace. He knows he's not 8th place in terms of race pace, so he is pushing hard. As we see now past Boardman now, this is P3.
They're going to go 3 abreast.
Oh boys, 3 abreast there. It does not work, not even 2 abreast works there, but they somehow make it work. Enslin now, will he get the inside of Boardman? This is the first chance he's had. Boardman's wide again there. He was wide earlier on the race and he's lost 2 positions now. Veerman's through. Will he get him back into the last corner? He does. He does squeeze him. He's squeezing him. He's got the line. Will he get the drive out? We know that BMW fast out of the corners. Will Veerman get that drive out into T1?
Well, it looks like Mika not happy with Lorenk. He's flashing his lights at him. But what a great move from Enslin. And what great defensive driving from Boardman to stay in there. But we saw Veerman not scared to lean on the driver he's passing. Definitely got his elbows out there and gave a bit of contact to Boardman. But Boardman held his own and held his head and maintained that 4th position. But now that we see Enslin getting past, will he have the legs to run away from Boardman? He's already done so. So Enslin making a massive late lunge from Veerman there down the inside. There was no room and he backed out of it just in time to not tag that Aston Martin and turn around. But Boardman looks like he's in trouble here.
You can see how defensive. He's not going to go up through the inside here. No, surely not. That would have ended in tears. He's looking up the inside into P5. Veerman is 8/10 quicker, and just as we called it earlier in the race, Enslin, he was wide in multiple corners. He has now got a drive through. So this is the battle for P3 now. Boardman stung by a drive-through in Misano. He may profit from another drive-through here at the Hungaroring.
So unfortunately for Enslin, he gets past, but as he gets past and tries to get away, runs wide again and is given a drive-through for track limits. So unfortunately, Enslin going to have to go to the pits and do a drive-through. So that's his hope of a podium gone. But Boardman really doesn't have the pace to stay in front of Veerman at the moment. Veerman is all over the back of him. We see the marks and the rubbing on the side of the Aston Martin from these 2 drivers in front, and we'll see Enslin just in front there dive into the pit lane to serve his drive-through, and he'll drop himself well down the order. There he goes there, far hard to the right. He stayed on circuit this lap, so he's got 3 laps to serve that drive-through if memory serves correctly, but he also may not want to serve it and he'll take a 115-second penalty. But right now it's James Parker still trying to get past Ibrahimi. He's looking down the inside. That BMW is just way too fast in the straight line. Right, thank you so much for clearing that up for me, Michael. Learn something new every day. So if he doesn't serve it now, he will be an immediate DQ. So he needs to serve it within 3 laps or he will be DQ'd from the results. But now we have a look at the leaders catching onto the back of the lone Maserati. We've gone back to Martin Lorenk. He had so much pace previously, but he can't break that of Mika, and he can't get onto the back of Chavanari at the moment.
Yeah, we've seen Ibrahimi and Parker just catching up to the back marker. And how will these guys do it? They're right beside each other. There's 5 cars together. If I was John Claessens, I would not be looking forward to what's coming up behind me right now.
Yeah, especially with no traction control or ABS, that car looks like an absolute handful throughout pre-practice and throughout this race as well. But the battle continues for 3rd. We know Alaric has to pit or take a penalty. So this is the battle for 3rd place, and it is still between Veerman and Boardman. So Veerman getting full of himself and flashing lights at Alaric, telling him to get a move on. But it's your turn now, mate, and you've still done a full lap behind Boardman, and he can't get it done.
Be interesting just to keep an eye on Tavanari, especially if these guys keep battling. Tavanari now has some clear space behind him to Lorenk. Lorenk is now trying to close on Tavanari, so we could end up, especially if these guys, Veerman and Boardman, start battling, we could see a 4-man battle for 3rd. That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Mika Novikowski quickest on track at the moment behind Lorenk. So I was wrong in saying Lorenk doesn't have the pace. Mika has just found some. So Lorenk is getting onto the back of Tavanari. Well, I would prove them wrong. So 53.4, quickest on the circuit now is Martin Lorenk. So Martin getting his head down and getting onto the back of Tavanari. We see that a bright lime green Maserati just in front of Tavanari. Will that slow him down and allow Lorenk to get onto the back of him? No, Claessen's very, very clever to get out of the way, and such a good way on Tavanari. Great driving there from Claessen's to move out the way. But Lorenk trying to move his way back up the field. Big fighting here between Nottenboom and Victoria. Victoria was up in 13th. He dropped her way down to 18th now. So still inside the top 10, but under massive pressure from Nottenboom.
Tight battle here as we cut back to the leaders. Ibrahimi still has the advantage over Parker. They've got past the back marker with seemingly no trouble. Parker is all over the back of them. A couple of laps ago, they both showed each other their cards. Parker showed what he was planning with his dive into T1, and Ibrahimi showed what his counter is. As we're on board with John Claassen, he's got lapped now by that group that we were talking about just half a lap ago. So he's kept out of the way of all the leading drivers. Fair play to John. He is not having a fun time in that Maserati. That thing looks like a handful. I don't envy him, Kyle.
I'd love to see what time Enzo is doing, because he's brought that gap on the leaders from 3.4 seconds down to 2. So he was definitely the quickest on the... it's 4.3. I apologize. I misread it. Never mind. But he has brought that gap down. So he has got quite a bit of pace. But unfortunately, he needs to serve his penalty this lap, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, he will be in a little bit of trouble at the end of this race.
And right now, we've just seen him disappear from the time screen. So either he's been... I believe he's been disqualified from this race. He did not serve the drive-through penalty within the required time. 3 laps. He may have left on his own volition. But anyway, so now that has promoted Boardman, as we knew, to 3rd. 6/10 off him is Veerman. Tavanari has closed the gap by only a 10th. So with 2 minutes 50 to go, it really looks as though, unless Boardman and Veerman get into some ferocious battle, that it is going to be a 2-man scrap for that final podium position. Speaking of 2-man scraps, we have the leaders.
Yeah, it's never nice to see a driver throw in the towel because of a drive-through penalty. It's always good to see them try and carry on fighting. So never nice to see a driver giving up. The give up attitude is never something I like to see, but it's definitely something that Parker's not doing at the moment. Sean Ibrahimi, he wants to get past him and he wants the win here. He feels a little bit robbed from his pole position in Misano and the contact made in the first lap, and he wasn't able. He spent all that time getting back onto the front group and just wasn't able to end the race in the front. So I think he's definitely pushing hard to try and get that first place from Ibrahimi. Down the inside he goes now. He has a look, decides against it, just not close enough. With a minute left to go, we probably only have 2 laps left of this race. They'll probably go on to the last lap, if not this lap, the next. So very, very close race in between the two. So they are about to start the final lap now. Parker looking down the inside into the last corner. He wasn't close enough there. He's got one more lap to get past, and otherwise it's Samir Ibrahimi who will be taking home the flag as he did at Misano.
Yeah, very interesting as we go into this last lap. Has Parker been conserving any form of tire life? We know he struggled a bit with tire life in the Misano race. Has he been conserving tires for this last lap? Is he concerned about it, or is these two guys at the limit? Only time will tell, and only 1 minute and 14 seconds we will know the answer.
The back of that BMW is so lap time between these two almost identical, and you can see the back of that BMW waving all over the place. Ibrahimi is pushing hard to maintain this lead over Parker. He's got a little bit of breathing room, but we know the Porsche isn't good through this sector of the lap. It is very good though through the next sector. So we could see Parker having a lunge down the inside on Ibrahimi for the lead. We've seen Parker make late lunges before. It will be here that he'll do it. Ibrahimi is wise to it though. He's gone defensive. Parker right up his back bumper. In fact, I think there was contact there. Are we going to see Parker dive down the inside into the chicane? He's looking. He's decided against it.
I'm pretty sure he was looking for the cutback there, Kyle, but Ibrahimi was wise to it. Contact was made, and now Parker is running out of choices here into these last few corners.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult place to make a move now. He's got one more tied right-hander, one more tied left-hander. You can do it. This left-hander isn't one you can do it, and it's quite fast. And then you've got a little bit of a flick back, not a hard braking point. So this is where the Porsche should be good, though. It should bring him close enough into the BMW to have a dive down the inside. We saw him have a look the last lap, but he's way too far behind to do it now. He's late on the brakes, hard on the power from the apex. We can't see them behind the signboard. Is he close enough to have a lunge? He's definitely looking down the inside. He's decided
Gonna have to be last corner. Oh no, he's up the inside now.
He's on the curb. He's on the curb, looking to go around the outside now. Ibrahimi's gone to the defensive line. Going for the cutback will be Parker. He's run wide. Parker's down the inside. He's going to get the cutback. It's a drag race to the finish. They make contact. Oh, is that the flag? Oh, no.
I mean, you could throw a cloth over those two guys. Parker tried the cutback. He was desperate to make the cutback. He almost spun as we see grass being kicked up going across the line. There's tire trails into the tire wall. That looks like Boardman that has stopped on track as we see the rest of the finishers. But my goodness, what a finish there between the top two.
That was an absolute... Parker actually pushed the BMW because he knew the BMW was quick in a straight line. From what it looked like to me, it looked like he physically pushed the side of the car to ensure that he could still get it dragged down the straight, and the BM still out-dragged him to the line. That was absolutely phenomenal. That was a photo finish and some great racing from both Ibrahimi and Parker to do that, make that contact, and still make it across the line. Unbelievable driving as we look at Gregor Schill in his KTM Crossbow, a car that obviously does not suit the circuit, down in 22nd. But our top 10, Boardman, Veerman, Tavanari, Lorenk, Mika, what great racing from everybody. Even Zarnecki down in 10th place. We saw some great moves from him. Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome to the first SimGrid race, Connall.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe it. My first assignment is like this. I'm not going to have a voice for tomorrow. We might get on the broadcast tomorrow and you might just hear like whispers because we've lost our voices from these two races. But your heart has to go out to Parker. Pole position, both races. He got caught up in an incident in Misano. This time, he looked like he was going to destroy the field. But as much as he tried, Ibrahimi stayed with him, stayed in front. The key point of that race was the first pass Parker did on Ibrahimi, and Ibrahimi instantly, the very next corner, countered and kept Parker behind him before he could set his pace and open up a gap.
Yeah, that race was decided in lap 1. That BMW just so quick in a straight line. It'll be interesting to see if Parker can turn the same lap times in a BMW at the next GT4 we do, if he does go to a BMW. So interesting to see what happens there. But what a great race. Ibrahimi winning that out from Parker. Boardman, Veerman, Tavanari, Lorenk down in 6th. Mika Novakowski, and Doricott down in 8th. Chris Hooker in 9th. 10th is Zarnecki, and that rounds out our top 10. Absolutely brilliant racing all the way throughout the field. Michael, do you have some drivers for us to talk to, or is our commentary, our interview section empty? So currently, before we end the stream, we are just waiting for some more interviews. But guys, if you enjoyed that racing, if you enjoyed myself and Connall and sorry, bro, give it to me again.
It is Connall.
Connall. I said it 3 times earlier.
Yeah,
you were
so
Connall and myself. Okay, my Irish wife is going to absolutely stab me in my sleep tonight. But Connall and myself. If you enjoyed our commentary and enjoyed our banter and absolutely loved the racing, please join us tomorrow night for the launch of the Sprint Cup with SimGrid and the GT3 on Assetto Corsa Competition, the mainstay Assetto Competition sim community is, in my opinion, this SimGrid. So go check out the simgrid.com, get your registrations and get involved with us and start racing in probably the biggest sim community for this platform that I have seen. What a great race.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it's my first race watching the SimGrid. I watched the Bathurst Porsche Cup race there earlier on in the week, and now I have been fortunate enough to cover this race, and it's only my first race covering anything at SimGrid, and I'm going to have to go get myself a cold towel and place it on my head to cool myself off after that.
Wow. Right, guys. So unfortunately, the sim drivers are a little bit shy of our microphones.
Maybe
Poor
they're
Michael.
maybe they're unconscious, Kyle. They might be just passed out from exhaustion after that one.
I actually don't doubt it. I mean, Michael's been maybe poor. Maybe they've just been running away from Michael in the pit lane. They're too exhausted to talk, or their adrenaline's still rushing. They've gone for a quick lap around the track on foot. So Michael can't get a hold of anybody to have a chat with us. So that brings to a close another great SimGrid stream. I cannot tell you how exciting that was for myself and both Connall. Connall, thank you so much for joining me. It was awesome to have someone else in the booth with me, and I look forward to another chat with you tomorrow night at 8:30 for the GT3 Sprint Cup launch.
Thank you for having me, guys. Phenomenal racing.
Right, guys. Content. And we're back live. We did say our goodbyes. We did say we're done. But luckily, Michael was able to rugby tackle two of our drivers and get them in for the interviews. I'm on with Samir Ibrahimi and James Parker, the two that were going at it hammer and tongs in both races. Guys, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Pretty scary last corner, wasn't it?
Yeah.
James, I've got to ask you the first question, mate. We saw you make contact with Ibrahimi there on the exit. Okay, you can answer honestly and you can plead the fifth. Was that contact slightly intentional, knowing that poor BM was so fast down the straight line that you had to do that to get the cut back to work? Or was that you just trying to stay on the circuit?
No, so I knew if I went wide, I could try and get some sort of undercut. And Samir was struggling with his rear tyres, so I thought if I could just lean on him a little bit under power and stop him from accelerating, I might have been able to pip him by the time we got to the start-finish line. And I was 3,300 short of doing that, unfortunately.
Absolutely unbelievable racing.
So, I mean, these cars are amazing, and they're so much fun, and they have such distinct characteristics. I mean, if you're a BMW and you're ahead of someone, unless someone really does a risky dive, no one's overtaking you. I was losing 5 or 6 car lengths every single time. So, and credit to Samir. I mean, he hung on very well, and he did a great race. So, and we're very evenly matched in pace. We've obviously driven them together for a long time, so we knew it was going to be just very close. And after the first race, where we had a bit of bad luck on lap 1, where we got obviously shuffled down the field, it was nice to actually have a good clean fight for the race for the second race.
Yeah, we saw that, and I mean, Connall, you made a great prediction with Samir and what he did on the first lap. Do you want to chat to him about that?
Yeah, Samir, we've seen James's pace obviously in qualifying and both qualifying sessions. Did you know that once James got through, you had to be in front of him the whole race just to keep him at bay and stop him getting away from the front?
Yeah, definitely. I knew if I had a bad start and don't overtake him on the straight line before the first corner, I knew he would be gone, because the lap time of the Porsche is so much better, at least when James is in the Porsche. So that was my main goal, to overtake him in the first or second corner.
And obviously that Hungaroring race was phenomenal, but also that Misano race, with the 4 of yous, yourself, James, Larenk, and Boardman, with the 4 of yous hammer and tongs like that, was there any strategy involved, or was it just nail it and hope for the best?
The first race wasn't with strategy. I just wanted to jump in the car. I mean, we all started from scratch here, so we never drove those cars before, so we didn't know what would be happen. So it was just jump in and have some great racing. And I think we managed that.
Samir, I got to tell you guys, there was some unbelievable racing to watch. I've watched a lot of racing. I've been involved in a lot of racing. I've done karting for 23 years of my life, and I haven't seen racing that close. But I've got a two-part question here. Samir, if you can answer first, and then Parker, if I can have your response thereafter. In the first race, Samir, you let Parker go through. Was that because you thought he had the pace to get to the front? And Parker, you must have been absolutely gutted after all that hard work to get there, and then pulled Samir along with you, and Samir ended up with a win.
Yeah, at some point I lost some time to the two in the front. So I thought it would be good to let James pass and get a little bit of tow from him, so I can take advantage of that. Then some of the two got a drive through, and we knew now this is for the race wins.
James, have we lost you there?
No, I'm still in. He's jumped out, but yeah, I mean, I'll just obviously add to what Samir said. I mean, we were obviously chatting to each other during the race, so we kind of had some sort of strategy. And generally, if one of us is faster or can attack, we'll swap positions. So, and we normally can drag each other up to whoever we're fighting with ahead of us. So, I could see that the top two were fighting very hard, and it looked like their tyres were slightly going off. So I just tried to stay consistent. And that lunge, on the penultimate corner on the rank was not intentional. I actually just locked up and had no braking potential. So it looked a bit of a risky dive, and I didn't actually mean it. So yeah, it was just a case of no strategy really. Just keep it consistent and try and recover as fast as I could, and then latch onto the back of Samir and hopefully get up to the top two. And obviously, it nearly worked. It was just a bit chaotic in the end, and it was all I could manage with that small mistake. So, but yeah, credit to Samir because he picked up the pieces and won race one as well. So he needed to be there, and he did it.
Guys, I got to say, I am absolutely blown away with the amount of thought, the strategy, and the work that goes into it. And, coming from a professional racing background as a driver myself and coming into the sim world as a commentator, I am blown away by the amount of thought process, work, and determination you guys have to do this and to do it at such a level. I forgot I was watching a game. I forgot I was watching a sim. I thought I was watching a real world. So well done to you guys. Great racing from both of you. And hopefully we see you again soon and see some more of that mirror rubbing, paint swapping racing we saw previously.
Fingers crossed. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, mate. I've got to say before I say goodbye to Connall and thank him for his efforts, we need to thank our production team that get involved with this, with the SimGrid, Michael Hamlet and a host of others. They are volunteers. This is not paid work for any of us. We all have our day jobs and do what we can. And to provide such a professional service is absolutely phenomenal. So hats off to the SimGrid and hats off to the racing that the SimGrid and the drivers that they're bringing to the sim community and bringing this sort of professionalism. Well done to you. And Connall, thank you again so much for joining me. I'm so looking forward to the next race with you and the next race with the SimGrid.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well, Michael and Kyle yourselves. I mean, normally when you have a phenomenal race like that, you have to wait maybe a week, 2 weeks, or if there's a summer break, you wait 4 weeks. But we have racing again tomorrow, 8:30 European time, and I'm pretty confident that it'll be similar to what we just seen today.
All right, guys, so that brings to a close a wonderful event from the SimGrid again. If you guys want to get involved, it's www.thesimgrid.com. Get involved, get registered, and come see us here. We'll be back here again, same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great evening.